Hello and welcome to episode 33 of The Boxing Show with me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, I'd like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, I am joined by the usual duo of Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke as we review this past weekend and look forward to a stacked weekend of boxing in Britain this weekend. Now that's over and done with. How are you, Barry?
I'm excited, actually, because... I remember,
that energy, I was not used to that energy.
You're probably, I'm so excited.
Where did that come from?
Look, when you said episode 33, and I remember, if you remember, he won't remember, but you'll remember, he said, well, if we get to episode 50, it's double the money.
The bonus payment kicks
double
in.
the money.
Yeah, I do remember.
From there on.
I
So
do remember.
we're so close to it now.
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx it.
I mean, I think there was a kind of an instalment after 16 or 17, and then one after 33, and then 50.
But
it came in different instalments.
And bear in mind, like, you've gypped on a few of them, so really we're on like 40, really.
Yeah,
because
that's
some
true,
of the ones you haven't turned up to
contractually.
Because there was a beef eating contest one time, wasn't there? And there was you know what I mean? Sausage roll making class you were taking. So we're pretty much on 50 now.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, well, what a great, lovely surprise that is for me. So now today's episode is going to be twice as long while we make value for money. We're going to come over to Mr. Andy Clarke, the big daddy of the boxing show.
Yay.
And the new parent, Mr. Andy Clarke. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, it was quite a weekend. It is a rough old game, childbirth. Why did nobody warn me? No one says anything. With blokes, no one says anything. I think they just kind of think, I can't really tell him what it's actually going to be like because, you know, a lot of us are cowards and we probably wouldn't go, or we try and think of an excuse not to go. But outside of being a torturer, literally being a torturer, how would you ever have to sit there and witness someone in so much pain for such an extended period of time? It's just wild.
I do it every week between 11 and 1, to be honest with you.
Can I just say, though, don't tell your wife that. I mean, I don't want to give you like a relationship advice.
She doesn't watch this, so we're fine.
Don't she?
No.
That's supportive. Thank you. But I would say, like...
Takes the low cocoa chocolate down.
Because he praised too much praise. No, it'll come back to bite you in the ass. I would say that much.
I tell you what, I'm not going to go on about it, but there was one really funny bit. Well, for me it was anyway. So it ended up being it wasn't an emergency C-section, but ended up being a C-section at the end of a really, really long day. So you're behind this kind of curtain thing. So I'm down by Emma's head, so you can't see what they're doing, which is great. I didn't want to see that. And you got the anaesthetist kind of talking you through it. And at one point she said to Emma, she said, "Okay, this bit now, this is a bit where they're going to have to get a bit physical, a bit rough here. You know, they're going to have a real pull and a push." and just I didn't say it, but immediately in my head, all I could think of was Frotch. Well, you know, we can all have a pull and a push. We could all pull about a bit, and I so nearly said it. It wouldn't have mattered if I had, because Emma wouldn't have, you know, she wouldn't have picked up on it. But as soon as she said it, that was all I could think about. But it helped because by that stage I was kind of. The gas tank was a bit low, to be honest with you.
It got you through it today.
Well, it just made me laugh.
I was worried about you.
It just made me laugh for a second.
So the happiest day of your life will always be somewhat connected to Carl Frotch as well, which is
isn't everybody's? You know, I think if you speak to Frotch, he would probably say that pretty much everybody's
end of the universe,
life-defining moments have got something to do with him.
He'll be around reading the bedtime stories when 80,000 people were there. It was the night of Frotch Groves too.
He's the centre of the universe, unless he doesn't believe in the universe. Maybe
no, he doesn't. Sure. No, but anyway, that's a podcast for another time. But anybody who thought that KSI versus Tommy Fury was the most painful thing to happen this weekend, just speak to Mrs. Clarke, and she will right you wrong. But before we get going, I'd like to bring it in because, of course, we are a family here on the Boxing Show. So, Mr. Andy Clarke, Big Daddy, as he will now be referred to as. You're going to have to keep it there because we always think as well that we don't have enough stuff behind you, Andy. So today you're going to be surrounded by the Big Daddy. There's the wonderful mum, which is not for you.
That's a lovely blue. I hope you're the dad.
Cheers, Barry.
Well, I'll definitely take the card away with me. I'm not sure if I can.
To be fair, and no, and don't take this the wrong way, but you don't look like the guy who's got it in you. to have a kid. So, well, I mean, it adds to the excitement.
Just leave it long enough and say something that he's not supposed to say.
What's this? No, come on.
Right, okay, so Tszyu boxed this past weekend.
He did. Let's get back to business.
Let's get back to business indeed. We will take a little look back at this past weekend before we look ahead to a couple of shows. Tszyu made the first defence of his WBO super welterweight title against Brian Mendoza this past weekend. Barry, going to come to you first as the person who hasn't spent all night in the hospital, or maybe he has, who knows. Tszyu doing Tszyu things. I think he's getting better each and every time out as the level's increasing as well, which is good to see.
I think he is. Yeah, he really is. I think he's a constant pressure on you, but you could say he could do more. But I quite like his methodical approach because he's heavy-handed. He's extremely heavy-handed. Not quite his dad's power, but not far off, I don't think. Maybe, but he doesn't give you a second's rest. He walks you down, beats you up constantly. And Brian Mendoza is fantastic, by the way. No, he's a hard man to beat and takes a great shot because like that uppercut in round 7 was enough to finish the fight. No, that barrage in the later round was wrong. Maybe
all
12,
of the rounds,
pretty much. But some of those right hands that he had to take flush, no, they knock most people out. Or if not, you're looking for the floor for a rest, and you may be staying down, like, to be fair. And so, he's commendable, Brian Mendoza, and also skillful, but Tszyu beat a good fighter there, and he beat him with looking like he could do more. And I don't know whether that's a criticism or a praise with that. We'll see. What you want to see him with a guy with a bit more energy, or maybe more. I would say a guy who's more assertive, like Charlo. But I think Mendoza is. Mm-hmm. He was the early rounds. He was tit for tat a little bit, wasn't it? But I just think just the weight of his shots. He just beat you in a submission. He beat you into retreat, and then he beat you up. That's what he does. That's exactly what he does. You come up being sharp and aggressive and looking to do lots of work and trying to be busy and trying to win the round, and you try and stick with him, but he slowly just beats you up, and all those punches have an effect.
Andy, obviously coming into the fight, everybody's been talking about what next for Tszyu. Naturally, as is always the way. He said after the fight that, this will be my last one in Australia for a little while. He is coming to America, or coming back to America. Of course, he has boxed there before. Wants a big Vegas fight. It looks as though Jamel Charlo could be returning to 54. If he doesn't, maybe 60. But he looks ready to go now, Tszyu. Served a pretty good apprenticeship as far as kind of sons of go, especially over the last 12 to 18 months, really since that kind of Jeff Horn win a couple of years ago. He's taken things step by step, but looks like he's there now, and he's very much, without Jamel Charlo in the division, he looks like the man to beat at 54.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. I remember first seeing him on I think it was a Joseph Parker undercard a while ago, and I wasn't really aware of him until that point. I think he might have been about 2-0 or something like that, and obviously you see the surname, and I'd heard that Kostya Tszyu's son was boxing, and you never quite know, do you, as to what level they're going to be at, and how long it'll last, and whether there's really anything there. But he's really he's stuck at it. He's stuck at it, and you can't get to that kind of level without there being some real natural aptitude, which you can kind of assume there is with sons of, but there isn't always. It's not by any means a given, or all offspring of professional athletes would be pros, and a good number go on to do it, but not by any means, obviously, everybody. And I think he is at that point now where he's ready just to take on whatever challenges are out there, and I'd love to see him fight Charlo. I think what happened to him against Canelo was, people talk about fights like that, daring to be great and all that kind of thing, about how it's no lose and all, but there is always a way in which you can lose, and not just pick up the defeat, but lose stock. And he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
He definitely did, because he just didn't do anything. And it did look like he was there to pick up the paycheck. And it might have been one of those situations where, when you're in there yourself, he realised, I can't really, if I open up here and try and be too ambitious, I know what's going to happen, but that is required of you, I'm afraid, when you're in fights like that. That's boxing. That is required of you. So I feel like he came out of that fight with somehow now something to prove, even though was undisputed champion. at 11 stone.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because if Jermell Charlo goes in there and he gets knocked out, it's almost as if, he went in there and he got knocked out.
People would be okay with that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the daring to be great to Tszyu. Then you go, well, he had a pop.
Yeah, whereas in the couple of weeks that I've seen him surpassed since Canelo Charlo, I mean, even right down to the post-fight press conference, he came out, you remember kind of it was the images in the lead up to the fight about when he lost to Tony Harrison, and he's sitting there and he's crying his eyes out, and he's like, I don't even like to play video games because I hate to lose, and then after Canelo, he's like, I'm proud, I went out there strong and I didn't get knocked out and stuff. Just not really, particularly for myself, been a big Charlo guy throughout their kind of, I quite like the anti-hero bad boy stuff, and we didn't really get that on the night. Barry, I don't think we'll see Jermell Charlo certainly for a little while at 54.
Yeah.
He might take a pit stop at 60 before he eventually comes down. If it's not Jermell next, Erickson Lubin just got a win against Jesus Ramos on the Canelo Charlo undercard. Does that seem about right?
It sounds good. Castano, I think he just calls everyone now, doesn't he? I would say that much. He just calls everyone who he can get. I think I do there. Yeah, Lubin's a good fight for him. Erickson Lubin's a good guy who would bang a bit, vulnerable. It's hard to see. I think Tszyu's got more gears. I love the little lean back. He does that little lean back his dad used to do, and then fires that right hand over the top. Not quite with the same knock you off your feet power. Like Costa used to literally knock you over when he's knocking the other side of the ring. But he has that movement, that natural movement. So he got a lot of. He's taken a lot of his dad's natural instincts as well to punch. I thought he was really good. I thought he boxed a really good kid who might win a world title as well, Mendoza. I think if it all splits open, which it looks like it's going to. Yeah, but I think Lubin's good. Castano, that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what weight Castano's going to be boxing at. We saw him out in Vegas and he was heavy, very heavy. He was talking about fighting at middleweight or super middleweight at the time.
Ennis might be moving up any time now. Virgil Ortiz.
I think he's returned at 54. That's a good fight. That's a really good fight.
That's the fight, isn't it?
Tim Tszyu, Virgil Ortiz. Yeah, that's good. But you'd imagine that Virgil Ortiz is probably going to want one to bed in. He's been well ranked with the WBO, hasn't he? So I'm sure they'll sort him out. What about Fundora? I like that. I know Fundora was knocked out by Mendoza. I think we'll need to see him come back and get a win under his belt.
I can't see. I know Fundora's 6'5".
Yeah,
but that just looks like an invitation for Costa Tszyu. That, to be honest, I know it sounds weird because you can keep him at range with the jab and move, and he can. But I think Tszyu slides in and throws that right hand over the top, and then that's 6'5" because a huge target to hit. I mean, a hell of a target to fall down. I can see that happening.
Yeah, it's all one of those fights where I think you can kind of...
that's the fight to sell him.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I was just about to say, literally, it's a sort of fight where you can't see it being anything other than a great action fight, but you can't really see how Fundora gets the win in that fight, you know? Similar sort of thing with Erickson Lubin. I know Lubin just had that win against Jesus Ramos, but very close, controversial decision. But you could see Lubin being ahead in that fight early on, using his movement, his athleticism until he gets slowed down. Tszyu's with PBC.
Oh,
yeah. So he's in the perfect place for 54, isn't he? That's why I like your Virgil Ortiz might take a little bit of time for that to kind of get into the picture, being with Golden Boy.
On Boxing News TV.
Boxing News TV. We are here, PBC, if you're looking for
do that deal.
Yeah, there we go.
You sent me a very cryptic WhatsApp last week of just.
I'll tell you about that. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to give, when I hear some things in the grapevine, I like to send Andy Clarke just little.
Nice, I don't get that.
Yeah, no, he doesn't get it. He sends me pictures back that nobody wants to see. Believe me. We'll save that for the Patreon anyway, Barry. Okay, that wasn't, of course,
another word I got to look up.
It wasn't, of course, the only world champion in action this past weekend. Janibek Alimkhanuly added the IBF middleweight title to his WBO strap. Andy, we're kind of talking about it downstairs, weren't we? Middleweight is, with respect to the division, it's not the powerhouse division that it really historically has been throughout the whole time of boxing. It's not at its strongest at the minute, but you can only beat what's put in front of you. And Janibek Alimkhanuly did that in pretty ruthless fashion against Vincenzo Gualtieri.
He did, and they didn't waste any time in getting that fight arranged, did they? Top Rank, they got that as quickly as they could, and I think Gualtieri was always going to be amenable to it. I'll be honest, when he won that title, Gualtieri, a few months ago, I had no idea who he was. I'd never heard of him. And with the fragmentation after Golovkin gave up those belts at WBA and the IBF, and with Canelo long since having left middleweight, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago that those two were fighting, and that was just a really, really tough division. I mean, it is a while ago now when you think about it, because obviously the third fight was a super middleweight, but now all of a sudden there's been a vacuum for a while, and it looks like Janibek's the guy to step into it, to be honest, because I watched him quite a bit in the amateurs, not loads. I remember he won a world title, I'm pretty sure, in 2013.
And he won the gold and beat Jason Quigley in the final.
That's it, on home turf in Kazakhstan. And he was Fowler's first fight in Rio, wasn't he? Which was not great luck for Anthony. He's a very well-schooled Kazakh southpaw. He does exactly what they pretty much all do. Good with the feet, good getting in and out. Does punch through the target, throws in 2s and 3s, and it's quite simple stuff for the main part, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Barry, fan of Janibek Alimkhanuly?
Yeah, I'm more so now after that. I think Gualtieri's a good fight. When he beat Falcao, I thought he boxed really well. Changed direction, like his hands are low a little bit, but he has good feet, good movement. He can throw some in flurries and stuff when he can. But when I was watching him with the view to this fight coming up against Janibek, I thought everything he does is really good, but it's so wrong for Janibek. You can't be like almost offering your chin and bending down low at the waist with your chin facing forward against him, against a guy who has fantastic judgment, like they all do, those Kazakh fighters. Great judgment of the distance. They know where they are all the time in the ring. Whether they're getting beat or not, they know where they are all the time. They're always in the centre of their stance. Their balance is always fantastic, and they all punch through the target. Whether they're big punches or not, they all punch correctly. So every punch you feel, even if it's not a knockout punch. And he was good. And some of those uppercuts he threw were fantastic. And then it became he had just a free target to hit too often. That was the problem for Gualtieri. He couldn't get out of the way, and then he clammed up very early, and Janibek just went to work. So I thought it was an impressive display, and it was impressive. About it. He probably could have finished it early. I would have thought. He didn't rush anything, just took his time. And that maybe the theme of the weekend with him and Costa Tszyu, but he just knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't rush it. He just knew. I'll just keep working on him now, and he's gonna fall apart.
Yeah, I think it was. We were talking about this before we came up as well. We were watching the Gualtieri fight when he boxed Escriva Falcao, who people may or may not remember, boxed Anthony Ogogo a long time ago in the Olympics in London. Falcao did look his age in that fight, and I think you saw the difference in levels between Gualtieri and Janibek. I mean, I saw Lee Wiley, obviously part of Lee Wood's training team and works with Ben Davis, and posted a clip on Sunday, so yesterday, where he just shows Janibek just touching with the lead hand, waiting for Gualtieri to come to him, and then just taking that half step back, and it's like, should I hit you with a left hand to the head or the body? We'll go for the body this time. And then after 3 or 4 rounds, it just became it was almost like once we got into the 4th round and he'd started to land the left hand to the head, it was like, okay, how long is this going to go?
Orchestrate everything.
Yeah, and Gualtieri just had no answer to it, and he kept making the same mistakes and falling in again and sort of offering his chin, and it was a matter of time.
Well, something like Gualtieri, because don't really have, he looks pretty to move, but don't really have much shape to his work, so everything's off being unorthodox, a little bit awkward, a little bit maverick if you want. But it works against a guy who maybe doesn't have the balance and the judgment of the distance of a Janibek, and the patience and the belief in that. When you throw, the punch is going to be correct and clean, and you're going to land. He doesn't waste many punches. Janibek, economically fantastic. Let's be honest. So, yeah, you're struggling against some of that. You need to have more structure to your work. I always go back to saying doing the fundamentals in the gym consistently, even if you don't box that way, is so important, because in a fight like this, keeping his hands up and doing, he still gets beat, but sometimes keeping your hands up, keeping your shape, and boxing correctly might maybe put him in the fight a bit more. Throw in conventional double jab right hands, maybe, or right hands left hooks if you're boxing a southpaw. But no, he was trying to be too clever, and that works for him with other fighters. But against Janibek, it was never going to work. Like I said, I watched him against Falcao and thought, I think he's good. He'll give people a few problems. But again, I was watching him with a view of Janibek and just thinking,
not him.
No,
give him any problems.
Yeah, he's just going to give him too much to hit. You're going to offer yourself to think you're too clever and too fast to move out the way. But Janibek, again, that other Kazakh thing, they close that distance like they're on skates.
Yeah.
Just slide in the distance, slide back out.
Yeah, that's it. That's the perfect word.
How do you do it? Like you're nowhere near. You're nowhere near me. And they don't take a big step. They just, I don't know whether they, Usyk does it by the bounce, when he sort of goes like this.
Yeah.
When he goes like that front leg reaches out a bit. As he did, he goes like that, and it reaches out. When he comes back up, he's a bit closer. And that's how he used to steal the space. Certainly as a cruiserweight. I know there's like Lomachenko, where he got little trolls under his feet and just pushed. Who knows how he moves his feet? But he go close. But no, they just he'll sort of like he pushes off the back leg and he closes really
sort of darts in, doesn't he?
Yeah. So because
but it's amazing how they managed to teach that, because I remember going to the WSB finals in Astana in 2015, and I went down to the Kazakh Boxing Academy, huge big kind of building, 4 rings in the middle, and you watch them all at it. I don't know who they were exactly. They would have been development squads, I think, by the look of them. They were quite young, and they just all did it the same. They could all do it the same, and like you say, they just slide in, and like you said about Janibek, he doesn't waste a lot. Everything they throw hits something, and a lot of the time it'll be, there's loads of southpaws, a lot of the time it'll be jab, left hand, right hook, in, jab, left hand, right hook, out, and then they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. It's
they teach them balance. I think that's the important part.
That's it. Yeah,
so you're never throwing off balance, like even if you're moving back or moving forward. I don't know if it's still like the Cubans used to have in their gym. I think circles, and you'd move around the certain do I say the word? But you put your foot in the centre of that circle and you move around the circle that way, and then adjust them like 3 or 4 circles. I'm making this up sort of thing, if I remember rightly. And then they'd move into different circles with their feet, but always keep the distance, same distance. And I think the USSR, before it became all split up into millions of countries, they were always countries, but it was USSR, so people outside those countries. But they had like squares and rectangles, and they would move their feet that way. And I wonder whether that's it.
Could be. So Uzbek fighters are quite
like
similar.
if you're in square 1, you've got to be in square 3. So and then if you change that foot to square 2, you've got to be square 6 and 4 or 5. I don't know how it used to work, but they would do that. So their feet would always, they had almost set positions for their feet, which always kept you on balance, and you could move forward and back and around sideways and using that footwork. And the Cubans are more fluent, but the USSR boxers, the Eastern Europeans, whatever you want to call them, were more direct with their approach, and you see that with the Kazakh fighters, don't you? They're more, they're fluent, but they're always direct with their approach. The Cubans are maybe more around, trying to get around the sides a bit more. They're a bit more direct and just too off an angle. Yeah, and I think it's how they used to do that.
I think with them when you watch them kind of like.
I hope I just made that up.
when you watch those 2 different schools that you described at top level, top level amateur stuff, you kind of watch the Kazakhs and you feel like you know what's coming and you should be able to do something about it, but you can't. Whereas with the Cubans, it's that more of that whole matrix thing where you look at someone like Andy Cruz, for example, who I was lucky enough to see quite a bit, and you just think to yourself, wow, like what do you do? What do you do with that? Whereas you watch the Kazakh guys or the Uzbek guys and you think, but you kind of know what he's going to do, don't you? But they do it that well that there's not really that much you can do about it.
You can see with some of the Cubans. I mean, you remember when what's his name? The guy who is signed with Matchroom when he drops Julio La Cruz. The right hand. Khalil Ko. Yeah, that was it. And you sort of like look at Cubans dancing around and you feel like, if I just time him on one of those bounces as he comes in. But then like you catch him with one shot. Now Khalil Ko, that's the only thing he throws. And that's the only thing that anyone throws against a Cuban. And the Cuban just goes,
people said that about La Cruz all the time. Buatsi managed it once and Khalil Ko managed it once. That's pretty much it in about
like 500 fights.
1,200 amateur fights. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's not the middleweight it was a few years ago. The middleweight division it was. It doesn't have your Canelos, Gennady Golovkin, Danny Jacobs, Derevianchenko, I think still about, but it's not really the same level. When you go back further than Martinez and all of these guys. So where's the big fight for Janibek? Is there a big fight? You've got Carlos Adames, who's the interim champion, Jamal Charlo, but no idea. He potentially might box at the end of the year. People are saying against Jose Benavidez Jr.
The fact that we've seen Charlo back around was probably a good sign.
Yeah. But again, I mean, if he's going to box Jose Benavidez Jr., there's talk about him potentially being the guy who gets the Canelo fight in May of next year. So that takes out one of the potential options for Janibek to have a big fight. I know we've kind of spoken starry-eyed about a potential all-Kazakh showdown in Kazakhstan. I don't think that's going to be happening.
Did you see Golovkin
saw the photos of Golovkin there, but Golovkin was hammering the big pizzas. He's loving life.
He's done, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. So where next for Alimkhanuly?
It's a good question.
It's pretty thin there.
Say it, and
I know, but we were going to build up to it.
Say him. Say my name.
Christopher Eubank.
Christopher Eubank.
I don't think Eubank wants it though, does he? Not that he doesn't want it, but it's just that I just can't figure out what's. I'm not trying to take us off down a cul-de-sac where we talk about this for too long, but I just don't really know. Is he really entertaining Conor Benn, that fight, or is he not? I don't really know. He's a hard man to second guess, but that is obviously the fight that would make him the most money, and that would be consistent with how he's always done things.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't.
Can't blame him.
I sort of went out of my way to try not pay too much attention to the boxing. That was in the UK at the weekends, but I saw quotes attributed to him saying that fight will happen. But I think he sort of stopped short of saying it would be next. And I saw quotes from Calla, and when I say I saw quotes, I saw a headline from Calla. I didn't watch the interview, where he'd said that Eddie doesn't know. Eddie's talking, and Eddie's this, and Eddie's that. So
no agreement. Yeah.
No, by the looks of things, which I'm thrilled about, because any boxing on December the 23rd is going to cause all sorts of problems for me in the family home. So we don't want to do that. So nothing on December the 23rd, ideally. But yeah, if you think that Eubank. Well, say you think. Yep.
As freelance.
That's fine. You guys are welcome to cover it. But anyway, when Eubank signed with Sky and Boxer, my understanding of the situation was he had Liam Smith there and he had Janibek Alimkhanuly there. And he could have had that world title fight. And we've kind of spoke about this over the years, really, on here, haven't we? Yeah. Does he want to win a world title?
You'll look back and regret it. I understand money's everything. At the end of the day, you want to be living in an ivory. And he's been a rich man for a long time on his own merits. Let's not forget that. But something's missing. We talk about like George Groves, he sits here every other week, doesn't he? Nick Shaw's podcast space. Fantastic.
Every Wednesday, George Groves Boxing Club. Get it? Yeah.
It's rubbish, man.
Apart from Barry's episodes.
Awful. But yeah. But anyway, it's fantastic facilities, I was going to say. I was trying to
Cheers, mate.
ID
nice
Boxing's thing. Anyway, it's ID Studios, I should say.
There we go.
But he'll look back and regret it if he doesn't win a world title. He's fought for a world title, but if he can the chance to win it, and this would probably be the better chance than any. No, I don't think he beats Janibek, by the way. I'll be honest, but but there might be another title down there that he can nick, and then box Janibek, and then there's a bigger fight because whoever he fights, it's a big draw. He's only getting a few more million for boxing, Ben. No, what I mean is he's always going to get millions because he is the big draw. Even in that Ben Eubank fight, he's the big draw. Maybe more. Conor Benn's got more of a big name now because of what's happened with all the drug stuff. But when they were both first fighting, I would imagine, I don't know this, that Eubank was getting more than him.
Yeah, it's Eubank Ben, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's understandable. Ben's a huge name, but Eubank has always been a bigger name. That's always how it works. So, yeah. But to win that world title, the older you get, to look back and think, no, I've been a world champion. That I said about George Groves, he ticked that box at the end. He earned the money, but the ticks up, and then he earned more money with the Super Series. But I mean, he already earned good enough money with Froch fights. But then to get that world title was that just whatever happens, then I've done it. I've completed boxing. That's how you feel. And I'm looked at that. No, listen, if I could I swap my world title for money? Sometimes I would. But when I think that looking back, not really, because I've always can say whatever it was, that on paper I've always been a world champion, and I think that's what we say. So why wouldn't he? Like, how much money can you want? And that stays forever, because all I'd be said was he's a good fighter, but never good enough to win a world title.
Every time he stepped up, he lost.
It'd be chucked at him, and it does affect you.
Andy won't say that.
Andy will say. Andy will just go, my little. No. But either way, I just think and it does affect you when you get old. You do look back in your career and you just think, I wish this changed, that changed. But very few fighters like him have control of their careers like he can have. He's got full control of his career.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And
it's so unusual.
So like we always go, if this would have happened for me, if that would have happened for me, if this bit of bad, like good luck. But he's just going. He'll be going. If I would have said that, if I would have made that choice, that would have happened, because he can dictate where he is now, and certainly now, the platform he's on at the minute. He's like if he stays with Sky, they'll do whatever they want for him because they need him, because he's their biggest draw. Yeah. And he would be whichever channel he's on, by the way. That's the truth, except for the heavyweights, of course. Yeah. But and so he can do what he wants.
But if he does fight Ben, and that does happen at the end of the year, then after that, what else would there be for him to do other than try and win a world title? Because there's always been that kind of big fight where the money eclipses the world title fight money, and so you've understood why he's gone there. But once Ben is out of the way, once that fight's done, then where would the next one of them be? I mean, the next logical thing then, if he continued to box, which I'd imagine he would surely be winning a world title, wouldn't it?
But who knows?
Try and fight Canelo.
Yeah,
he keeps talking about wanting to fight
he
Canelo.
does.
I mean, I don't see that fight being able to happen while Canelo's still under PBC. But that's a fight that, let's say, theoretically could happen like May 25. But again, you
how long can he go on for? How old is Eubank now?
33.
That's not too bad, actually. I thought
he's always lived a life, hasn't he?
Yeah. So who knows? But I mean, you're still taking punches all your life, and training's bad. All of a sudden, you can get old overnight in boxing, not just from the fights, from the training itself. And I know people train better now, so the injuries are less than they used to be in training, but they're still there. Your hands are still hurting most times after you train. That's just how it works. The older you get, and the more you do. And like my shoulder, you've all heard my shoulder, haven't you? And things like that. No, they get it. They'll have all those problems. The older you get, you have those problems, and the recovery takes longer. That's the problem. So how long does he keep going on for? And also, but you don't know. In 2 years, Spence could be the middleweight champion of the world, and then that's a huge fight. Everyone forgets about Crawford. Crawford's still down at light middleweight, and that's super welter, and that's his limit maybe. But if moving up in weight, so who knows? That could be a huge fight for him. But get that world title, just get it now, isn't it?
Another thing to consider with the world titles, okay, it's not certainly from a competitive point of view as strong as it's been. Politically, it's not great for him though, unless he wants the Janibek fight, because 2 of those belts were with PBC, and he had his kind of PBC stint, where it was the DeGale fight, and then he boxed Matt Korobov for a round and a half. But other than that, I mean, you've got Erislandy Lara's got the WBA, you've got Jamal Charlo's got the WBC, and Carlos Adama's got the interim, and then the other two are Janibek, which for me is the hardest fight. Huh?
Is Adama's PBC?
Adama's PBC, yeah. So politically, it's not going to be easy to get there, because he's a big draw over here. In America, he's not. Just flat out not.
Gosh, yeah.
So and they're not going to want to break political divides for a guy who's not a big draw over there. So but
they still might get their fight as a seven-figure fee that he's not going to get anywhere else.
To come over here potentially.
So that's like he did with Spence and Crawford.
Somebody like Erislandy Lara is at the end of his career. Be a good payday for him, but they'd probably be looking at it. But we've got Elijah Garcia. They've got Elijah Garcia, who's unbeaten middleweight prospect, had a good win on the Canelo Charlo undercard. They're probably going to want him to take one of those belts as they move forward. So that's the other thing to consider. As we all know, it's not just what happens in the ring and who's what in the ring.
And you wouldn't fancy him again, and he doesn't beat Janibek.
I don't think so. No,
I don't think so either.
No. I think Janibek's just too well schooled for him. I just think like all of the frailties that we've seen, all of the kind of deficiencies we've seen in Eubank in the Groves and Saunders fight, I think come out again in the Janibek fight. I think it's different to the Liam Smith fight, which is kind of an anomaly.
A big guy with a good jab.
Just technically very good.
It's always had
good feet.
Eubank.
That's going to be difficult for him. Okay, right. Before we move on and look ahead to this weekend, we'll touch on a fight that was on the undercard this past weekend on the top ranked card. Andy, Keyshawn Davis returned with another decision win over Nahir Albright. Another win for Keyshawn Davis against a good opponent, somebody who's caused a few upsets in recent times, but without that kind of stardust on it. Am I being harsh, Andy?
No, I think that's fair enough. I very much enjoyed him banging the drum for Adam Azeez during the week. I'm all for that.
That came out of nowhere, didn't it?
No, it did. But I was thinking to myself when it happened, I just thought, I love a bit more of this. Between the kind of like Sky UK stable and that Top Rank stable. They're with the same broadcaster. There's some business to be done there. Maybe I would say there hasn't really been enough kind of involvement with Top Rank. I don't think so. Yeah,
he wants to chip to the States, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll take the Top Rank fee, don't worry.
absolutely I do. So yeah, I enjoyed that, and Keyshawn Davis they're very sold on him at Top Rank. They put a lot of time into who they sign. They do a lot of background. It's obviously the ability has to be there, but the character has to be there, and the marketability has to be there. So it's a very, dossiers will be compiled. I would imagine, and they feel that he all round has got absolutely everything that you need. He's certainly got the confidence, but I do feel like we need to see him, just rip through those gears and be a bit more explosive, maybe. They are very good at matchmaking, Top Rank, because sometimes early in a fighter's career that can translate into them getting rounds and them not looking that great. And it works really well for them down the stretch. But at that particular moment, you might look at them and think, are they really what we've been told they are? That does happen sometimes with them. But yeah, I'd like to see him. He didn't quite live up to it at the weekend, did he?
No.
From what he said in the build-up. And you're not always going to. I get that as well. But yeah, I guess I'm still kind of a bit undecided.
I think, like, as anything in modern boxing, I mean, we just mentioned Adam Azeez there. Adam Azeez was this, he was that, he was the Naz, he was all of this stuff, and then he went the distance with Santos Reyes and he's not this and he's not. So we all love it, and I'm probably the worst for it. But if you look at Keyshawn Davis, 10 fights, his last before Nahir Albright at the weekend, he boxed Francesco Patera. We all know how good of a fighter he is and what sort of level he is. Anthony Yigit, very similar sort of level, that fringe European guy. So it's kind of what you've said there. It's almost like when you've got an elite talent, you don't mind matching him in. Look, boxing Patera and Yigit in your first 10 fights is very, very good.
It is good.
And if you're getting the rounds in against those guys, but you know that he's this, that, and the other on the back. Remember Shakur Stevenson first started coming through and he wasn't stopping guys, and everyone was going, this guy.
That's what.
But they know that when it comes down to the crunch, he's got it. But still, Barry, I do wonder at times with Keyshawn Davis. It was a majority decision at the weekend, which I thought was a bit harsh on him. I did think he won the fight, but it's just almost sometimes just clicking through the gears a little bit with him.
I was thinking about, because I've been watching all the rugby, especially this weekend. The rugby, by the way, the rugby's been fantastic. Like Wales lost, I know, and Ireland lost, I was gutted, and England got through to the semi-final. That makes it even worse. But anyway, right, but it was but South Africa beat France, so that was a good thing. But second phases of attack, I think there's a rugby term in phases, and I think that's the thing you need to get click into gear. Second, quicker is that second, third phase of attacks, because he has the ability, he has fast hands. He whips his punches in fantastically. Albright's a good fighter, by the way. As I say, he's been top rank matched, haven't he? Proper top rank matched. We got a talent. They do it like the McGuigans do it. They got a talent. They go, right, we're gonna. You're going fast, so we're gonna match you correctly. Because when you get to that big fight,
you're ready.
You've had all those tests of frustration, chin checks, testing your power, all that stuff. You've had those checks, so you're armed with all that knowledge now what you have to do for a big, long, grueling fight, if that's what it ends up becoming. So I think he's good, but yeah, like you both saying, I think he just needs they need to give him a fight now where he can look just to sell himself, and for his confidence, look supersonic. Just blast through somebody, even if it's like one round or 4 rounds and he smashes him to pieces. He needs to have one fight. Not quite a gimme, but someone who's been a name but is on the back end of their career, so they are vulnerable, and so he can, with his ability and his speed and his timing and the way he whips his punches in, an older fighter won't see it. So he needs one of those lambs of the slaughter, if you will, just to give him that, and also that final push on to where he, if he's going to go to world level in a minute, because I think he's not far off. The problem they got the couple of fighters the same sort of weight and level.
And
I'd love to see him fight Berinchik. I think that'd be a great fight.
Yeah. I think he wins that fight as well.
Yeah, I think he does as well. I mean, you could argue why would Berinchik want that, but Berinchik's had one of these weird kind of careers which hasn't really gone anywhere. Although that's unfair. He's risen in the rankings, and his last couple of fights,
trod water a bit.
Yeah, he has a bit. Yeah, it hasn't moved as quick as it might have done.
Was Berinchik and Yigit at lightweight?
Yeah,
it was lightweight.
Yeah. That on the Fury Usyk undercard, that'd be a good one, wouldn't it? But I don't think it will happen. But
it's a sort of fight that you could see happening for a vacant WBO,
because Berinchik needs something,
and also stylistically, I think that's good for.
Someone's going to come to you, but also is loose defensively. Berinchik, very sort of game fighter.
Yeah, and he does need to make some kind of a move soon. Berinchik, I'm sure Alex Krasiuk has got a plan, but that would have been affected by the Russia-Ukraine war, because they would have headlined with him in Kiev basically every time they had him fighting. I think ideally.
There's another thing as well that we've spoken about on here a few times, is where you're kind of comparing Keyshawn Davis, rightly or wrongly. Naturally, you're comparing him being in the hottest division, if not the hottest, and certainly one of. In boxing, you're already comparing him to your Shakur Stevensons, your Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, however fair or unfair that is, when that is the division making all of the noise. That's going to be the case.
The problem they got is they got Shakur Stevenson. You've got to keep Davis away from Stevenson, but still get him a world title. That's because you don't want to be throwing. I know the top rank go, well, we're putting together now and never
different though when it's
swim.
When it's that level.
And you got two potential. You got one potential the future of boxing, which is Stevenson, and one potential star in Keyshawn Davis as well. It could be a star at world level. So you don't want to put him in now. It's like it's like one of those fights. Oh, you can match him now because they're both going to do well in the future. But this is different than it, like you say, because there's Stevenson's going to be. He might, he's not going to get the Mayweather money, but he's going to be, getting those.
It'll be a pound for pound
eight figure potential, 8-figure fight for that weight, for those lower weight divisions. That's phenomenal. So you don't want to mess with that. And also for Davis, you can put Stevenson goes in their favour against Davis, obviously, but you don't want to. You want to. It's hard to line them up the same way in the same division without being criticised of keeping them apart. But he's good. I like him. I've got I don't know why, and I have no basis on this, but I got a feeling that he might be a fighter who unravels. I don't know why. I don't know why I say that. That in a fight against, I don't know who against, he gets tagged, and I can just see him unraveling.
Well, I have a little
basis for that
he doesn't like getting hit, and we saw it at the weekend again. He took a big right hand. I mean, everyone doesn't.
I know obviously,
but like, it's one of those things that you don't know, and you can do dossiers and you can look into it. You don't really know until they get hit by 8-ounce gloves on the night. And he got hit by a good right hand by Albright. He was a decent fighter. And that was a concern. And also against Patera. Patera was hitting him with some good shots. And he just had that... Again, it's not... You're picking fine margins, but he just kind of retreated a little bit, went into his shell a bit, which is not the worst thing in the world. Certainly if you're feeling the shots, you don't automatically have to fire back. That doesn't make you a good fighter. But yeah, it's interesting that you would say that, because that is something that I think that we spoke about it before we kind of came up, that you just wonder.
You were talking before we came up.
Well, so we were here early. We did a little pre-show today.
You have to have trust in your chin, don't you? If you're going to get somewhere, that's just, and no one really knows how good theirs is until it gets hit, because punch resistance is a really, really weird thing. There's not, some people's are better than others, and there's not. If you speak to kind of like physiologists about it, they'll tell you that there's not really any reason for it that they can identify as people of science. Why does one person take a punch better than another? A lot of the time there isn't an answer, but that means you can then go a bit crazy and delve into the spiritual side of things and just think maybe it is just down to that kind of like force of strength from within, that willpower, that kind of idea mentally that this is that I can take a shot, I won't get knocked out, that won't happen to me, and that can maybe that's the answer. And if you haven't quite got that and you're a bit nervous about getting hit, then
it's relative to levels. Like see me, I never went on the floor never got knocked down in my entire life. Amateur, pro, I boxed world levels and amateur, I boxed decent levels of pro. Never until my last fight, and I would come against a true world-class puncher, which he was, Freitas, whatever you think about him, he was a fantastic puncher, and he knocks me down 6 times, but I still think I had a good chin, because I got up, so I could take the shot, not all of them were to the chin, there were some body shots, I can't take a body shot as well, what I mean is, I've been winded with body shots in fights, in 12-round fights, but I recovered, but I mean, so I thought I could take a body shot, because I'd never been dropped with a body shot until that point, but chin shots, and you step up a level, and all of a sudden your chin's not as good as you thought it was. I know, but it's to do with lots of things, and so you see in the punch helps as well, because you can just brace yourself for it. Eubank, there you go, he got a great chin, he dined out on his chin. Eubank Jr. as well as senior, but Junior dined out on his chin, and then gets hit by a punch he didn't see against Liam Smith in the first fight, and unravels. Same with Eubank. Joe Kazagi wasn't a massive puncher. He was a bigger puncher before his hands went. But when he boxed Eubank, which was the anniversary last week, I think, when he boxed Eubank to win the world title, he gets put down early. He didn't see the punch. Just didn't see it, too fast for him to see. He couldn't line himself up. So, that's the way you can't really judge how good the chin is, because it's
can happen to anyone.
So many factors. You didn't see it, whatever. It's the weight or the speed or the different levels you're used to taking punches at. so many variables to it. But some people do have a great chin, and you can look like that. So who knows? But Keyshawn Davis, for me, just looks like a kid who might just unravel, because he's a loose puncher as well. I can sort of see him whipping a shot and getting caught, and then just losing his shape. I don't know I don't know why I feel that way.
We can play this back if and when that does happen, or if and when he walks through the fire with a granite chin. Barry said that he would. But we're just kind of looking at potential opponents for him next. Let's look on the top rank side of things, because we're not stupid. Raymond Murataya, good fight. Unbeaten lightweight prospect. Jermaine Ortiz, I think, is moving up to 140 now. I don't think he make the weight anymore. Otherwise, that would have been a good fight. Jermaine Ortiz versus Keyshawn Davis. I think that kind of fits the bill as well. Frank Martin was a fight that was discussed. I saw them sort of kicking off with each other in Vegas a couple of months ago. But that's different sides of the fence. PBC and Top Rank. Is that going to happen? I'm not quite sure. Yeah, so you are kind of limited if you want to climb the ladder at lightweight and sort of keeping it in house. George Kambosos, but George Kambosos is going to look at Keyshawn Davis and go, yeah, no, I'm all right.
No, and I think that's why they've looked over here for opponents. I remember Comaretti mentioning Patera to me a while ago, because he knew that we'd seen him over here. What did I think of him? And I thought, yeah, he'd be a good fight for him. And Yigit then immediately sprung to mind. I thought, well, if you're going to fight him, you may as well fight him. And I think that's why they've looked over this side, because they do want to put people in with different styles and get you that full rounding, but also because there's not that much. As you say, the cupboard is a bit bare, isn't it?
What they need is they need like a Lomachenko in 5 years' time when he's 72 and just lost a little. He's still better than almost everyone else, but just lost a step. That's what they. If Lomachenko has clearly lost a step, he's the fight you take. Someone like him, because then you beat the name.
Yeah,
he's still a good fighter, and he makes it a hard fight for you, but you just haven't got quite the same as he used to have.
And that's why everyone's looking, I think, at Kambosos as well, because the name, okay, not the same level as Lomachenko, but I think.
But Lomachenko's the problem with Lomachenko, he hasn't still really lost a step, I don't think.
Okay, that brings to an end our review section of today's show, and now let's look ahead to this weekend. We have two big British shows this weekend. We're going to start off in London, Barry, which is where you're not going to be.
No.
So we're going to start off with you for Joshua Buatsi versus Dan Azeez. We all love a domestic dust-up to unbeaten light heavyweights. Bit of history as well, bit of a backstory.
Yeah.
Quite like that, don't we?
We do, and the good thing about the light heavyweights is that there's been a group of light heavyweights for a long time, and we've always talked about them fighting each other, and they haven't. But a new one's come along, and he's jumped in. Well, Richards, though. Richards was another one that wasn't involved in that mix-up, and he jumped in and he boxed Buatsi. Actually, Buatsi should take some credit. But and then Lyndon Arthur came in and he boxed. Actually, we have more fights than we think, though. He boxed, didn't he? Yeah, it's been great. But I'm talking shit. But it's a good fight, it is. And you tend to think, you're looking at it about, they were nowhere near. You never see these two lined up, because one's a medal in the Olympics, and he looked like the one who did that more to the pro game than any other Olympian from the UK, and he won a bronze medal as well. So it was fantastic, and he looked really good. And the other kid, Dan Azeez, no one even knew who he was. I was doing shows for him in the York Hall, and commentating on YouTube. And he looked good. He looked alright, but I didn't think he was going to go anywhere. I didn't know. I didn't say he didn't think he didn't look like he didn't say he looked like he wasn't going to go anywhere. But you just don't know early in someone's career when they're boxing up against people who are not that very good. You just journeyman. You just think, yeah, he looks alright. He's good, isn't he? Reminds me of Hagler with his velvet shorts and his shaved head. And he jumps into the jab and all that. And he got the socks. You got the proper basketball socks on up to his knees, like a proper 80s fighter. Like it's good. So it's fun. But that was it. I didn't see nothing of him. But he's just improved so much, and he's boxing regular all the time, and that's so important. And then we all say that, but boxers don't do it enough. And he's just every level he's gone up, he's looked better. Not just got over the line. He's looked better every level he stepped up. He's looked a lot better. And winning the European title in Paris, it's a big ask for anybody going away from home to win a European title. And he's just his work ethic's fantastic. He's patient. He's not a knockout artist, but he's heavy-handed with every shot. And he just keeps working and working and working, doesn't worry. And he doesn't load up, he takes nice and loose, which gives him loads of energy and makes him a really hard man to beat. And then Buatsi should have boxed for the world title by now, I think. Even though the pandemic, even with that, he should have boxed for the world title by now. It's a career which is mystifying because he has all the potential, all the promise to be a fantastic world level or world champion, but you're losing faith. I think more recently than ever before with him. He's a great talent. He has some fantastic ability. His jab is amazing. The jab is what's going to win him the fight on Saturday if he is to win. That solid jab. It's fast, it's hard, and it makes you reset. And he needs that against someone like who's short, like Dan Azeez, who likes to come in low and jump into his attacks. Having that jab to stop him in his tracks and to line him up for that right hand is the weapon he needs. And that's probably why I give him the edge. You can understand why people fancy Azeez because all the momentum's with him because he's been active and he's sort of like he's not out of training, is he? Because he took a fight recently, didn't he? But he was on holiday.
In Italy.
It's just madness, isn't it? You know what I mean? He's living the dream, the kid. He got no expectations. He goes into a fight freer than any fight that I can remember in recent times. Like no one expects me to do anything, so there's no pressure on me. You put pressure on yourself, of course, because he is winning titles now. He knows he's good. That's where the pressure will change. But he keeps taking a step up. So he knows now he took another step up, and everyone's going to fancy Buatsi to do a job on him, which you have to say, he has to be the favourite. But he's the one with all the questions, Buatsi. He's the one with all the pressure. He has to be Dan Azeez. Just on paper alone, he has to be Dan Azeez. But also now, all that promise and investment in you, it's time to pay the piper now for him. I think this is the fight. This is the fight before he fights for the world title, which should and it's been long overdue. So there's a lot of pressure on Buatsi. I mean, I think it's loads. I put more on him if he listened to this. But no, I do think. I think if he doesn't,
I see what you're saying for sure. Yeah.
If he doesn't beat Dan Azeez, and no disrespect to Dan Azeez, he's a fantastic fighter. Might go on to win, to fight for a world title. But if he doesn't beat Dan Azeez, with all his grounding and his ability and everything that he's done amateur and even as a pro, what a waste of money you've been for whoever's been spending money on you. And that sounds harsh, but I mean, he had that much promise, and he has that much promise. So he's got to produce. And I mean, but he's going to be what Dan Azeez will do to him. He will force him to work so hard, which might help him a little bit, because I think we'll see the best of him. But all this controlling the pace, and I know that's the Virgil Hunter type thing, isn't it? Control the pace, and take your time and assess what's going on all the time. You might not be afforded that against Dan Azeez, so you're going to have to be busy, and that's where the jab is important. Because that just gives you're going to have to think quick, but that jab will just give you enough time to think quick, but not rush it.
Andy, this would be the second fight since Joshua Buatsi rejoined Sky. Of course, the first one against Pavel Stepien, which was a fight that I think it's fair to say didn't really set the world alight back in May. But it is, I agree with Barry, this is a very big fight, certainly for both men, but for Joshua Buatsi, having also, kind of where I think with this fight, I already think, okay, we've seen this from Buatsi already. He's already boxed Craig Richards in the fight before the world title fight, the domestic dust-up that leads to the world title. He won that fight, and he's the same distance away from a world title as he was back then. Do you agree with Barry? Do you think the pressure is on Buatsi this weekend, particularly when, it's kind of it's a well-known fact that Azeez has kind of been a sparring partner with him, a very junior sparring partner when they first started, and now they're across from each other with a lot on the line.
Yes, and I do agree. I think Buatsi is the one of the two who's under more pressure, but for all the reasons that Barry was just outlining, because a lot was expected of him right from the very beginning. He was so good in Rio. He had loads of people after him. And from the beginning, he looked like he was really suited to pro boxing. And he hasn't really done anything wrong. He's won all of his fights. But at the same time, it has been quite slow progress. And yeah, we have had the pandemic. But he's not yet where we thought he would be by this stage. And you wonder whether there will be time left for him to achieve what we thought he could. Now, there could still be. Lots of careers, they're backloaded, aren't they? The real success comes towards the finale, and that's what he'll be hoping. But he absolutely has to beat Azeez, and that is not any kind of a comment on Azeez's ability level. It's just that given what was expected of Buatsi, it'll be much harder for him to come back from a defeat than it will be for Dan, because in his own head, he's going to win Dan Azeez, of course, and he's got great momentum. And, you know, if you look at it in terms of, you know, what have you done for me lately, as our good pal Deck Taylor likes to say, but I like it as a phrase and a way of examining things, because he's the one who has picked up these titles, come up on the rail, and he will give himself absolutely every chance. And the backstory for me is interesting for one reason, which is that when they sparred all of those rounds, Buatsi wouldn't have imagined that he would end up fighting Azeez in a fight like this. And that doesn't mean he wouldn't have been paying attention, but it would have been good work for him, but he wouldn't have imagined that this would happen. So he probably wouldn't have been paying the same amount of attention that Azeez would have been paying, because we know how he's always believed in himself, Dan. And so when they were sparring back in the day, although they did spar as recently as March, but when those hundreds of earlier rounds, Azeez will have been looking at Buatsi just thinking, I really, really, really want this to happen down the line. You know, he'd have had him in his sights. And maybe he wouldn't have said it to anybody else because people might have just scoffed. But in his own head, I'm sure that's what he was thinking. And we saw with Chris Billam-Smith and Lawrence Okolie that having that familiarity with somebody can be really important. I mean, Okolie's a kind of different case because he's so unusual as a fighter that Chris had something that none of the other opponents had. And I'm guessing that replicating Buatsi's style is easier if you're finding sparring partners than it is for Okolie. But I think the familiarity part of it, I think, could help Azeez a bit more than it helps Buatsi. But he is very, very focused, Josh. Very cold, very ruthless. I can't wait for it. I really can't. And I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen, to be honest, because Azeez is absolutely capable of winning that fight.
Barry, just on the sparring and being sparring partners. Now, I think anyway, it can go one of two ways. Like they get in there, they're very wary of what the other one can do, and sometimes it doesn't always lead to the greatest spectacle when you're so familiar with somebody. Or you can be so familiar with them that you know what they're going to do and you're happy with it and you get straight down to it from round one. Which one of those do you think that we may see this weekend?
It depends on how Buatsi used their sparring, because if say he's using their sparring, say they're levels below at that time, as he's probably, you would guess.
I mean, Azeez, by his, just to cut him, Azeez, by his own admission, he said he sat there and told me, he said, when I first started just sparring Joshua Buatsi, I was shit, in his own words.
So he might be using Azeez to practice stuff. So he's not really paying attention to what Azeez can do, because he everything he does, he's no problem. Whereas Azeez is not studying Buatsi, but he's learning from what Buatsi does to how he can react to it. So if you can remember that, it's a sparring. You don't always take it in. You don't always remember what's going on. And that might be where Azeez has the upper hand, because he might know, he might be used to the speed of the shot of Joshua Buatsi, or where he throws the jab from, or a little feint that he does before a little movement, a little tell that you might have. You might remember that because he was concentrating more than Buatsi. And that's, you know, so. But if Buatsi had been concentrating, then it's worse for Azeez. If he'd been taking that sparring seriously and really watching and in the sparring really watching what Azeez does and counteracting it, Azeez is, I think he surprises people how he swoops into swoops in close to the target quite quickly, and how he advances on you and how he attacks you, and I think that gets him, and that confuses our fight, because he's short, he's not a tall light heavy, and he gets you quick, and he's not the biggest of punchers, I don't feel, but he's strong. And he jumped, and the way he leaps into when he closes the distance, whether he slides in or jumps in with that jab, it surprises the opponent. Now, if Buatsi had been really watching it when they've been sparring and can take that away, then Azeez got to adapt, and he's never really had to do that. That's the problem with that, and that's where that amateur background grounding at international level really helps, being able to adapt. That's why turning pro late, or turning into boxing late, always put you in a worse position, because you haven't had that adaptability of having to overcome hurdles. You just do what you do best, and it works or it doesn't work. But no, usually it works. But when someone can take it away from you, you have to learn to adapt, and that's you've learned that from in the day, not panicking and just adjusting. or riding through it. I think, obviously, I think Azeez just had to ride through the storm if he's struggling. But I think his surprise attacks get you, and he builds off that. And if Buatsi can take that away, if he'd been studying the sparring, then he's in a better position. But I don't think he would have been. I think he would have been taking Azeez, using him for what he wanted. I would have thought. So he probably wouldn't take much notice of what Azeez does. And you can watch him on TV. But watching someone, studying him on tape helps. But sometimes when you're in with them, it's totally different. I think Azeez being he uses being shorter as he uses it to his advantage, because he gets nice and low, makes it hard to hit him. He makes himself a smaller target. So it'd be difficult for Buatsi. And also that lazier attitude that Buatsi has, that might be a problem for him against a volume puncher like Azeez. He's going to have to be busier. Because if Azeez can get in close, all I worry about is Azeez squares his feet up when he attacks. When he goes to throw that right hand, he brings that right foot forward quite often, because he's already close the distance on you. So he's on you. So he thinks he can square his foot up quite effectively. But I think with someone like Buatsi, he can hook off that, or throw the right hand through the middle. He can take the step on the outside, I think, and because he's a good boxer. Buatsi, he's thoughtful with his work, and I think that might get Azeez in trouble. I feel. It's a good fight, though. I think it's a really good fight. It's a really good match. Stylistically, it's a good matchup. It doesn't have needle, but it has history, which helps. And there's pressure, and there's for Buatsi, so he has to perform. So he has to be sharp and never before. I think he needs that. Buatsi sometimes needs a rocket up his ass. That's what it feels like, And I think going with Virgil Hunter, who's obviously a good trainer, his record speaks for itself. But people, look at that Stepien fight, for instance. People complain, Buatsi, where's the second phase? Where's the second gear? He didn't do enough. You just put him. Everyone's praising he's gone with Virgil Hunter, who's all about take your time. Don't make any mistakes. Don't rush it. And that's how he fights. People forget about Andre Ward, this all-time great, and he is an all-time great fight. They're brilliant. But he was getting criticised for not getting people out there. He was criticised for being boring, wasn't he? Because he was naturally dirty fighter mind as well. By the way, that's what people forget about Andre Ward, and he could fight inside brilliantly. He had that natural instinct to just know what to do inside and be physically strong. But I mean, a lot of his fights were not great to watch because he would just do enough. I'll break you down slowly, and that's all. I'm not going to rush anything for anybody to take a risk. Well, for you. And I think that's what Virgil Hunter sort of instills his fighters. You don't take any risks. Be smart. Do the smart move and use the jab. And if that's working, just keep using it until it doesn't work, and then we'll find another route. So when he went with him, and they all complained about the step and I said, what do you expect? You got a guy who's technically quite good, going with the guy who wants you to just do the basics and do it well, and if it works, stick to it. Sticking with Joe Goosen, then fair enough, have a complaint when he's not trying to run through fighters. I understand that, but he didn't go with him. He went with the guy who says always engage your brain. So I don't think what they're going to expect. But in this fight, he's going to need a bit of Joe Goosen. Maybe he's going to need some of that. He's going to need a bit of a smack on the face and go, listen, you got to up it, mate. You got to go in that. I think you got to go in that ring thoughtful, but a little bit. Like Azeez is taking food off his plate.
I think there might be that edge from Buatsi. I kind of agree with what you've said there, Andy. He is very cold, and he can be prickly at times, Buatsi, which is what people don't necessarily associate him with. And I don't feel he'll be best pleased at this being billed as a 50-50 or a very close fight. Or I think he will think in his head, 50-50, yeah? I'll show you 50-50. And I think I agree with you. I think he needs that in this fight.
And Anthony Yarde has picked Azeez.
Yeah,
which was great.
That was good.
That helped.
Anthony Yarde's been great in the build-up for this. He went in and did the podcast, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
And I've always, as an operator, I've always been a fan, because I think with all of those guys, we mentioned Craig as well, like 4 London light heavyweights, Buatsi, Azeez, Yarde, Richards. I just think they're all just a great advert for the game, because they can all fight. They're not afraid to take fights.
All different routes.
All local guys as well.
They're marketable. They've got something to say. They understand the business. It's Anthony Yarde was a star turn the other week, definitely.
Yeah, he's just sort of like the kid in the playground going, "Oh, yeah. Josh, Dan Azeez said this."
Yeah,
he's one walking around the classroom going, "Do you know what so just called you.
Yeah. And he's just watching the pound signs in his mind kind of get higher and higher. We're going to come on to talk about Anthony Yarde because obviously he's seemingly lying in wait for the winner, which is great to hear considering we've been certainly lobbying for Buatsi versus Yarde Buatsi, however which way you want to slice it.
That fight happening anyway, to be honest. Where does it go again?
I've heard some pretty strong rumours about that one.
Yeah, the fact that he's popping up on Sky and talking this, I mean, I don't know. Certainly, look, if you're Buatsi, and probably less so Yarde, because Yarde's done it now. He boxed Kovalev, he boxed Beterbiev. Okay, losing efforts, but he's boxed for the world titles. He's probably looking at Buatsi now and thinking, yeah, now's the time to do it. Whether if you're Buatsi, what route are you thinking in your mind? Are you thinking, okay, we'll do that now because Smith's boxing Beterbiev, Bivol, who knows what's going on with him at the minute. I can do that now. Or does he think, oh, actually, I'll take my world title fight first, and if I lose that, then we can do that afterwards. But it does seem like it's in a healthier position than it's been for a while, that fight.
And also, they can earn a fortune with each other. I'd say that. The problem is Yarde's already earned fortunes, I think. So, like, he's the one who can go, well, if the money's not right, I can wait. Where the others, I mean, I think Buatsi's in good money, but I think he hasn't had the Kovalev fight away from home, and he hasn't had the Beterbiev fight as well, which he obviously got well paid for. So it's funny how it's turned around there, because when they had Yarde and Buatsi at the beginning, even though I was working for BT at the time, and Yarde was a BT fighter, no TNT fighter, I always thought Buatsi was just so far ahead. I thought the people thought Yarde doesn't. We haven't seen Yarde box anyone yet. He was just bashing people up and looking great doing it.
It was just impossible to know how good he was, wasn't it?
But yeah, so you have to say Buatsi's just so technically so good and structured that you can't see how he just doesn't make mistakes. Of Yarde, Yarde got all the power, but he's gonna have to take punches. We haven't seen him take a punch yet. All those things, he's answered all those questions now, in spades, hasn't he? But like, you've shown time and time again how tough he can be and how adaptable he can be as well. He's learned from his defeat. From that one defeat in Colorado, he learned from that, and you've seen that in the Beterbiev fight. Even though he got beat fair and square, and there was only one winner. But he showed so much in defeat. I think he showed so much out with the levels he can box at, which is always what we always say this all the time. It's always a worry to judge a man on his defeats, because ultimately he still got beat. But still, you put him ahead of everyone else now, don't you? That's the truth of it. Craig Richards against Bivol, he boxed really well. Didn't win. I didn't think he won, like at all. But he boxed really well. He competed against a really class operator, and then Bivol's shown on to be a better fighter since. So
best result of his career, wasn't it?
But you say by far. So Yarde and Richards have shown more than Buatsi.
Yeah,
it's crazy, isn't it?
If you're looking to rank those four. It's funny with the British heavyweight rankings recently. Everybody just kind of forgets about Callum, don't they? Callum Smith, but when he stepped up, I always do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when he stepped up, I kind of put him straight in at one because of what he'd done at super middleweight.
And it doesn't look it doesn't look though he's going to stay around there. I think he'll have the Beterbiev fight. If he wins, I think he sails off.
Yeah, I think he may well do.
I think he's probably just got that one.
Yeah, I think that could well be what happens. But exactly, if you're going to look at who has done what and then rank those fighters, there's a strong argument that you would have to put Yarde and Richards above. Well, you'd have to put Yarde above Buatsi because he's boxed for world titles, even though he's lost twice. Richards has boxed for a world title, but then Buatsi beat him. But whether Josh likes it or not, these are just, when it comes to Yarde, those are just facts.
It's sort of like the duality of matchmaking, isn't it? Where you've got, let's say, Buatsi on this side, who's been, I'd say overly cautious, but more cautious build and a slower build. Again, potentially what we were talking about earlier on, when he's got he's an elite talent, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that. And then Yarde's been sort of like, I mean, really, he hadn't really boxed anybody with respect.
No,
and
he hadn't.
Then
he chucked him with Kovalev.
And then chucked him with Kovalev, and it's like, okay, that's like two polar opposite ways to build someone. And it just shows you that there's no real, there is a kind of a best practice formula that we all kind of stick within the realms of. But it does show that kind of any which way can work for any which fighter, dependent on the situation.
But there's also you build a fighter to what his potential and ability now and potential can be, I guess. So someone like Buatsi, I feel, I'm not a matchmaker and I've never trained anyone and all that crap, but you tend to think he should have been matched harder, better and quicker. More fights, more step-ups. I don't know who makes the decisions. The promoter might want to do it, and the matchmaker, and maybe the manager doesn't, or the other way around. I don't know how it works, but ultimately, to get him where he wants to be, because it doesn't matter. What they did with Yaz, they just fed him loads of people because he had no experience, made him look fantastic, built his profile of this like massive puncher, which he obviously was, and he looked great. He's a good-looking guy, and he looked impressive in every fight. But he hadn't boxed anyone really to give him any sort of world rating. He played the international, intercontinental game and got himself rankings. Then he chucked him into the Lion's Den, sink or swim, and he got beat, and he won a round, 2 rounds if you're being super generous. But even the rounds he lost, he was competitive. He showed actually he does belong here, and he took. And what I liked about Yad is he had a chance to take step aside money in that Kovalev fight. He went to Russia to watch Kovalev. He had a chance to take step aside. I had so much respect for him, more for that than anything else. He could have took step aside money, which was almost the same as what he was getting paid.
And then box for a vacant title in the UK, probably. In the UK,
and be a world champion. Yeah. And he had so Kovalev could box Canelo, which happened anyway in the end, and then he gets the winner, which would be a vacant title. Canelo could have boxed
exactly, and
then he gets a world champion, and he gets paid twice for one fight. But he went, no, I want to box this. This is my time. He believed in himself, and I thought financially he was stupid, but for a boxer, for a boxing person, I went, what a man! Like whatever happens, what a man! Like I have so much respect for you, because I think that's what I would have done. Like an idiot, because I'm an idiot. That's why I would have done it. But like all that effort, I just want to fight him. I want to fight him. I want to just like, because you dream. Remember all that dream? I was called all that dreaming all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of did do that, didn't you? Because Freitas,
he never made the weight. I could box Keyshawn Pickering, but then he probably beats me anyway, and I get beat by a super bantamweight then. But Keyshawn Pickering was a really good fighter, man. You don't forget, horrible fight in the box. But either way, like it's. But you want to, because you at that moment, if out of all the shit and all the marketing yourself, he proved he was a real fighter, because he believed he was going to beat Kovalev in Russia. Like what a balls move that is. But he came up short. But he took the risk. And Buatsi, I got this thing in my head that when you win the Olympics, if you win the Olympics or win a medal in the Olympics, and you haven't won or at least fought for a world title
by the next one,
then there's a problem. Now, the pandemic got in the way there. And the reason why I say that, because I turned pro in 92 and I won my world title in 97. That's 5 years. I didn't turn pro with a big promoter. I wasn't this star. I wasn't a guy who was pushed. So if I can do that in 5... And by the way, forget about injuries and having 10 months out with different things when I couldn't get a fight. I took a year off. I retired. I thought, if Ray Leonard could do it, I can do it. No, I retired because I wasn't getting no fights. I went to work in Dublin for 10 months. So like I had like 18. I had almost 18 months off there. I've sort of like just walked away from the sport. So that 5 years reduces to like less than 4. So if I can do that with no backing, these stars who are more skilled and have all the pushing and backing, they should be doing that, like Josh Taylor did. With all and they should be matched that way because they are talents. And I think Buatsi has been held back for too long for some reason. So I don't understand why, because he is a talent and he should have been proved to be there, ready or not ready, but he should have been pushed to the forefront by now.
I mean, you only have to look at Lawrence Okoli, who of course signed with the same promoter, the same management company. They boxed for, I'm pretty sure it was on the same card. Let me just check. Yeah, so they both boxed for a British title on the same card when Okoli boxed Wadi Camacho, Joshua Buatsi boxed Liam Conroy. That was 2019. Okoli then won a world title 2.5 years ago against Glavatsky, and if you remember, that was delayed. It was supposed to be in the December beforehand, so it would have been nearly 3 years since Okoli won a world title. Now, obviously, they're no longer with the same promoter, no longer with the same management companies. They've gone their separate ways.
And Eddie
but that's something only in the last 12 months.
That he could have got Josh a world title fight.
Yeah,
and he chose not to take it. And that's what I mean. Who knows what actually happened?
Buatsi's version. I mean, naturally, there's 3 sides to the story. Buatsi's version of it was, look, I didn't want to box Dmitry Bivol for a title, win the title, and then be tied in. Now, as we all know, that's
the thing.
As we all know, it does happen in boxing. You win a title. Lots of fighters who will be watching this, or you're under a contract. If you win a title, it'll extend for a period of time. So that's not necessarily kind of new or groundbreaking stuff. But he didn't want to carry on, by his own kind of admission, boxing on DAZN. He wanted to box on Sky. He wanted to have more eyes on the prize, so to speak.
DAZN's a worldwide platform.
Thanks, Barry. DAZN representative.
On Saturday.
Which kind of leads me into my last question on this before we talk about the undercard. I'm going to go over to you, Andy, as a completely impartial Sky Sports representative. When did this fight become a 50-50, or when did this fight become a close fight? Because 2 years ago, if you'd have said Joshua Buatsi versus Dan Azeez, everyone would go, whoa. No, not for Dan Azeez. No. Dan Azeez's English title. What happened? Because it seems as though Dan Azeez, obviously he's got better and progressed as a fighter, but it seems like it's gone like this. When did that happen? What was that? Was it not having the exposure on the zone? I mean, the Craig Richards fight...
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was that. I think Azeez, was a kind of a winner from the Sky Matchroom split, and that he signed with Boxer, and he won that British title, and he's been boxing regularly since, and he's put in good performances, and he's picked up the European title as well. So European, British, and Commonwealth. The British and Commonwealth will be on the line for this one, and if Azeez wins, then he wins it outright. So that's just not that he needs it, but that's just another little...
Not the European?
No, he's given up the European.
Oh, okay. Sure.
He's vacated the European, and it's the final eliminator for the WBA, but we already knew that, didn't we? We were just waiting to see whether the British and Commonwealth would be up for grabs. And I think it's that, and he's been visible, and he's been active, and that magnifies that visibility, doesn't it? And... people remember him because he gives good post-fight interviews where he calls people out and says, look, I'm in this to box in proper fights. Anyone in Britain, come see me. I love all that shit. It's brilliant. You've got to have somebody's name in your mouth and say, look, I'll fight anybody. And then when the opportunity comes along, you're happy to take it. And momentum is a big thing. Like Barry said earlier, confidence is massive. And, he's made some changes himself. He's got Buddy McGirt in his corner, who we see a lot now, so that's an interesting battle as well between the two trainers, and it's the momentum that he's managed to gather, whereas Josh had the problems with Matchroom, which took a while to resolve, and then back in May against Stepien, I wasn't surprised it ended up being what it was. All things considered, it was pretty likely that's what would happen.
But he boxed well, though, didn't he?
Yeah, and Stepien was a very, very capable opponent, as in very well organised and in really good physical condition and all of those things. So I think that's how it's happened, basically.
Do you know what I think? I'm going to tell you anyway, so it's irrelevant. Let me tell you what I think. One has the luxury to say yes or no to fights, and one can't say no. That's the difference. Have you seen that film? You've got to watch these films in a few years' time. It's called Yes Day.
Yes.
On Netflix, just in case Netflix get into boxing. Great platform.
just in case BBC end up on there.
They build them in the back of my house and Amazon. But great. But anyway, right? These had so there's like they say to the kids, we want for 24 hours we'll just say, 12 hours we'll just say yes to everything you say. So you say, let's go to Disneyland, yes. It's all smoke crack, they gotta say yes. It's not the crack, they don't smoke crack. But
that's the director's cut.
but I mean that's Dan. It should be Dan Day. He just says yes to everything because he can't afford not to. Like if he says if he says I'm not ready for the British title, like why would he say that? But if he just says, for instance, oh no, I don't know, then he don't get a shot. And he is English level then. He's boxing on that level. And then he's boxing people like, these are good fighters. Liam Conway. He boxed
Conroy.
Buatsi
boxing.
Yeah. But like, who's a good fighter, by the way, who Azeez could beat. But he can bang, he can catch you, and all of a sudden then you're stuck at that sort of level, which is a good level to be at. British, fringe British title level, all that sort of level. But he's stuck around there. You can't get a breakthrough, can't get a look in. So you just got to say yes. You get the opportunity, you say yes, and worry about it later. And he's boxed freely. He just said yes to everything, and he stepped up. Well, yeah, I'll just train hard and go for it, and no one's expect me to win. And Hosea Burton, I even thought Burton was going to. I watched it the other day, and Matt's going, Burton's a massive favourite, which he was right because everyone knew about Burton and no one knew about Azeez. Even I'd watched Azeez more than most at that point, and even I thought, well, he's good at that, but I think Hosea with the reach and a good jab and good feet, he's going to keep him turning, keep him spinning, and you expect Azeez to struggle, and he never. And Rocky Fielding you sort of brought him back out to semi-retirement really, but it just every fight he just steps up and takes it. He's the yes man. He's the can man. The Dan man. Dan can man.
There we go. Just going back to just having a look at his box rec now. Go back to the Charlie Duffield fight for the Southern area.
I remember that well.
Yeah,
I remember that well. It was a
that,
really
that
good
was a
match.
pick'em fight.
Yeah, it was absolutely
Charlie
50-50. A lot of overlap between the two. Knew each other well. Some similarities with this fight in that regard. And I remember he landed a jab pretty much the first punch he threw, and it brought up Charlie's eye. And that was pretty much the end of that, really.
If you look through there, I'm not going to name all the names, but kind of looking for domestic opponents: Charlie Duffield, Lawrence Oswaki, Andre Sterling, Ricky Summers, Jose Burton, Reese Cartwright, Shaq Pitters, Rocky Fielding.
Ricky Summers pushed him close, didn't he?
Yeah, tough man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ricky Summers. But yeah, those are the kind of...
And most of those fights, he goes in...
They're pick and fights, really, most of them, yeah.
And he's the away fighter in most of them.
Yeah.
Even if wherever they are, he's Sterling. I know people that fancy Sterling. Andre Sterling, they fancy Sterling at the time, I bet, probably. I can't quite remember. But
No, that would have been one of those good London fights where people were pretty much split, I think.
Absolutely. Right, we will move on and talk about one of the undercard fights coming this weekend, which is for the British Cruiserweight title. Eventually, we've got Isaac Chamberlain versus Mikael Lawal in a fight I'm really interested by. I think there's a lot of question marks around the fight, Andy. We've seen the well-publicised pull-out from Mikael Lawal the last time, the tooth injury. There's been a lot of back and forth between them across that. I think Isaac Chamberlain's played the villain, if you like, quite well in that regard. But a good fight, and a fight where there are a few intangibles to it, a few things that we still to find out from both men, I think, at this weekend.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, because I could understand Isaac's frustration when Mikael pulled out at the end of May in Bournemouth. It was a tough one for him to take, and he was absolutely boiling, and he didn't feel like the explanation was really good enough. And since then, they did do a face-to-face at the press conference when the fight was re-announced, if you like. But Mikael then didn't come to the open workouts in Croydon last week. I'd imagine he'd scheduled to come to them on Wednesday, but he didn't come last week, basically because he didn't want to. He didn't, I don't think, bother coming up with any kind of reason. I don't think he really wants to engage with Isaac in the build-up, and people look at that quite often and feel like it's a sign of weakness. I don't think it necessarily is. I think if you know that in that kind of verbal spar, that kind of context, that the other person has got the better of you, you're better off staying away, I think. You know, Deontay Wilder kind of opted out of it against Fury in the third fight, although he still turned up to stuff. He'd stick his headphones on, and, you know, I think if he could have justified not going, that's what he'd have done. Dillian Whyte against Fury. You know, no coincidence that Fury's a common denominator there, because he's very, very good at that kind of thing. And I think Mikael just looks at Chamberlain and just thinks, I genuinely find you really annoying, and you're better at this than me. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we get this week, because he doesn't say a lot. His performances at times have flattered to deceive a bit. He wasn't looking great against David Jameson, and then broke his jaw, and that was that. And he's flitted around trainers, but he's back at Stonebridge now with Sultan, and I think that's probably a good thing, because he was with John Edwards down in Guildford for the fight against Jameson. They came in quite light for that fight, maybe because they were expecting Dion Tuma, probably because of that. And then he was with Donnell Smith for the fight that never happened towards the end of May. And it's not great, is it, when someone's jumping around all over the place? But now he's back where he's home, and I do think that's a good thing for him. But I do kind of question his minerals a little bit, because I don't think he's necessarily proven that yet, which is not something you'd think you'd find yourself saying about somebody with the kind of backstory that he's got, because it's so harrowing, and not many people would have come through it, quite honestly. But minerals was something I used to question about Isaac until Billam Smith, to be honest with you, going back in deep and giving him, you know, a really good fight. But then, you know, the two biggest fights of his career, he's lost against Okolie and Billam Smith, and it's back to what Barry was saying. Nobody wants to be that guy who is coming up short in big fights. He's got to use those two defeats and turn it into a win this time around.
Yeah, and I'm sure that I'm sure Isaac Chamberlain would have been fully intending to beat Lawrence Okolie and Chris Billam-Smith. But Barry, his career, I don't want to over-dramatise things, but his career wasn't on the line in those fights, whereas I think it is here this weekend. If he loses to Mikhail Lawal, it's very, very difficult to see where Isaac Chamberlain goes.
Yeah, of course, because the Okolie fight, they're both on the way up, so you can easily rebuild on that. And then Okolie goes on the world title, so that defeat doesn't look so bad. And again, the Billam-Smith fight, again, the same sort of scenario, really.
An unbelievable fight as well with Billam-Smith.
But that's what I think Lawal's got to put it on Chamberlain early, because Chamberlain's a nice relaxed fighter, likes to box at his own pace, so you've got to make him work really hard, and that's what I thought Billam-Smith was going to walk right through him for that reason alone. And then Chamberlain showed us all that we didn't know what he had, as Daddy puts it, new dad puts it here, the minerals. He talks like that, he lives in a mansion. The minerals But anyway, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But but he did show that. He showed like that he can tough it out, and I think that's where, if Lawal doesn't put on him early and really hurt him early, which he has the potential to do, then it's a harder night for him. I'm big on Chamberlain. I think he has better boxing ability. He can go the distance better. I think he can dictate the pace better. He's a better boxer. I think Lawal will find it hard to hit him clean, and I think Lawal will tire after 4 rounds, maybe 5, because he'll be swinging hard, because he'll know he'll have to put pressure on Chamberlain. I think he might be going a little bit too crude, and I do think there's a simmering. It's not simmering. It's obvious. There's a rage in him. You can see it. It's simmering just under the surface. It's not under the surface. It's right in his eyes. There's a rage there, and that could be your friend or your enemy. I think
drained.
Yeah, but you just go get on him, which might, like I said, you got to start early, and I'm sort of contradicting myself, but you have to start early, but there has to be a bit of intelligence with it, because the guys expect you to start early, and at that weight he can catch you coming on, he can hurt you. So I think Chamberlain, I'm sort of big on Chamberlain. It's a good fight though, and if Lawal can hurt him early with that big right hand over the top, then things can unravel for Chamberlain quite quickly. I think Lawal could do that, but ultimately you got to go with common sense, and I think that Chamberlain can dominate it from space, keep the distance, and then as the rounds go on, starts to put pressure on Lawal and stops him.
Yeah, there's Chamberlain definitely the more proven entity out of the two. Yeah. We've kind of seen him for good and bad, what he's got and what he's capable of. Also think that the 8 rounds that he got against Dylan Brejon at York Hall were very good rounds for him to get. On the back of that injury, the facial injury that he got against Chris Billam-Smith, getting 8 rounds against Dylan Brejon is a good fighter. It would be a better win than anything that's on Mikhail Lawal's resume.
That fight against Smith shows us, but shows himself. I can dig in it. The atmosphere is against me, or everything's against me. When I'm looking, actually, sometimes that helps you with it when the crowd's against you, or just a big crowd in general. But he knows now that if I do get hurt and do get tired, that I can. There is resolve. That I have a place I've been before. I can go to the place I've been before. I've been there now. I know I can be there. Not saying Lawal can't, and Lawal's maybe been there.
We've just not seen it.
Yeah, and also, but I just think Lawal will gas out because he'll try too hard to hit the target and miss too often. But it's a good fight. It's a decent little bill, actually, to be fair.
Okay, moving up and wherever it is.
Across.
To Liverpool. So we're going to go to Andy first. For the return of Jack Catterall against our old mate Jorge Linares. It's been a while since we've been graced by the great man's presence on these shores. Has been a while, and that's, I think, indicative of where he's at his career, Jorge Linares. But a fight for Jack Catterall, we kind of spoke about it earlier on with getting the marquee name on your resume. With all due respect to Linares and what he's achieved, he kind of has developed into that name in recent years, particularly at 135 and now up at 140, which is, of course, where this fight takes place. I do stress should, be a fight where Jack Catterall can show us what he's got and stake his claim for a big fight at 140.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, in that regard, it's a good bit of business. I think it's a good piece of matchmaking, because he does bring that name, Linares. I mean, when he was, really flying in that period where we had him over here twice against Anthony Croller, he was terrific, wasn't he? Boxed Luke Campbell as well. He was right up there. Great to watch. entertaining kind of guy outside of the ring. You hear some great stories about
Yeah,
Linares.
some great
You
stories.
really do. And he's been around a long time, and he's got an interesting record. Always has had. You know, he's been stopped early a few times, and that has always made people kind of wonder about him. But he's just a good character all round. And I feel the same about Catterall. He doesn't say an awful lot a lot of the time, but I quite enjoy listening to him when he does have something to say. I thought he handled the whole situation with Taylor well, because that must have been really, really hard, because ultimately we might feel like it'll be some kind of consolation when everybody's telling you that you're the uncrowned champion, and on a good day it might be, but there'll be plenty more days, I think, where it won't be any consolation at all. And you look at the rematch that didn't happen and the money he would have got paid for that, and in the end didn't get, to be able to kind of handle it the way that he appears to have done anyway, I think is really pretty impressive. And he is a good fighter, and he can have a say in that division, and he deserves another chance. You know, deserves isn't a word you like to use too much in boxing, because you'll find yourself disappointed if you're going to go down the route of trying to work out what you deserve all the time as a fighter. But I think we would all agree that he does deserve another opportunity.
To quote the great Snoop, Felicia Snoop Pearson, she says, "Deserve got nothing to do with it, Andy," and that is very much boxing.
Well,
yes, of course.
He's literally he's done nothing since that fight. That's the sad thing about it. You rarely get a chance to unify a title like Taylor did it the hard way, fight by fight. But I mean, for Catterall, the opportunity to be a unified champion, and even if he would have won the rematch, even the rematch would have happened, he would have won. It wouldn't have been for all the belts. That'll never happen for him again. The chances are very slim. But so that's what's disappointing, because for one night he was great. Taylor was awful, by the way, I have to say that. But Catterall, that's irrelevant. Catterall was fantastic. He did everything right, and he got it right on the night, and he deserved his rewards. I don't even know how much of a Josh Taylor fan I am, but I was there that night and I just couldn't see it. I was with Carl Frampton, for God's sake, and he's Taylor's mate.
Friends with both, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think he's maybe more Taylor. I don't know.
Yeah, both shared the gym, didn't they? Yeah, it goes further back with Taylor. Yeah.
But he was the same. Like, he was more outspoken than I was, but he can afford to be. Maybe bags. But anyway, yeah. So he boxed so well. You're not going to get that opportunity. And look what's happened since. Nothing has happened to him. His career's just been. He's fought once, hasn't he? I think.
Yeah, he fought once. He boxed Darragh Foley.
Yeah, I was there, but his career's been stagnant really since then. How's that work out? I mean, Taylor's career's gone. I know he lost the Lopez, but I mean his career's gone on.
It's also still a big fight. Yeah. Okay, he lost to Lopez, but a big fight.
A big fight, yeah, I know, yeah. So it's just funny how things work, and just think, again, what you deserve, what you get are two different things. So yeah, he's and also I've always found I cover most of his early career, Catterall, and you can see the ability in him. But I always found him, for most part, not the Taylor nights, but for most part, he wanted to look good rather than be good, if that makes any sense. He wanted to look pretty and sharp, because he is a lovely boxer. But sometimes you're like, no, just do the job. You're messing around, you're looking pretty, but you're messing around. Just do the job. The guy's waiting to go, and you weren't doing it because you wanted to look smart, and you didn't want to do the rough. You didn't want to do the groundwork.
Always look for that perfect shot when he'd hit him with a left hand, get the reaction, and be like, yeah. Okay,
he's like, I'm a tradesman. He's like, I got the apprentice do all that shit. That's what it was like, that sort of stuff. I'm a tradesman. I don't do that. I don't do the ground with the shit work. Now I've gone past that. I'm doing all the pretty work. He probably didn't. That's what it looked like on the. So to look pretty, look good rather than be good. Sometimes that was his downfall. He always had the talent to be a really good fighter. But yeah, so and he gets a marquee name, but I just think with Linares, I think potentially those early rounds could be a struggle for Catterall, because Linares is technically so brilliant, and he will commit to the attacks. What Linares does really well is once he throws one, he'll throw four, and he'll fire off your punches quite well. But at this weight and his age, and if Catterall is looking down to get down the business from the offset, and especially that jab, what Catterall can do really well, he dictates it with his jab. He jabs and steps back. He'll jab it. He'll step in with it. But he sort of like, he got a wide stance, so he gets back on that back foot and makes it really hard for you to hit him back clean, and then lines you up then for that left hand from the southpaw stance. And I think down as the rounds go on, that'll be more of a problem for for Linares. So yeah, I see. I can't see how he's boxing a shadow of a guy, and also he's boxing a guy who started his career at featherweight, as big as he was at featherweight. Linares, based in Japan, wasn't he, early in his career?
Yeah, he made his debut in Japan. Just run through his resume now.
Interesting career.
Very much so. Boxed in Japan, boxed in Venezuela, boxed in Panama, boxed in Argentina, boxed in Korea, America, boring, Mexico. Obviously in the UK, so he's been there, seen it and done it over the years, Linares. But yeah, I mean, we were actually speaking about this the other day. I think today is the anniversary of the DeMarco fight, where he got, I saw it on the way, and he got stopped in the 11th round by Antonio DeMarco. Remember, like, him being part of that Roach stable at the time when he was with Pacquiao and Khan and like that all kind of explosive style of fighting, until he got stopped and then went over with Salas. I remember Salas, speaking to Salas years ago, and he said that I couldn't remember his name. I remember it now. You remember Sharif Boguer, the guy. He was one of the Mayweather fighters, and Salas said that he was sparring him, and Linares was basically getting beaten up in the spar. And he says, and I can look at him. I'm not going to do the accent because Salas is very unique. And he said, I was looking at him across from this guy, and then he said, come in at the end of the round. He sat Linares down, and he said, "This guy is shit." He's like, if you, and no disrespect for Boguer, if you can't beat this guy, we're finished. He's like, we're finished. So he does the last round. He said, tomorrow you come in. He said, you beat this guy up. He said, if you don't beat this guy up, we're finished. He said, he come in the next day and he was unbelievable. And he said, from there on in, it was amazing how kind of having that one-on-one time with Linares and stopping him boxing in Salas' words, like Manny Pacquiao. He says, you're a Latin man. And Salas has this thing, I'm sure you've all heard it over the years, where he kind of likes to train fighters based on their geographical state and kind of their DNA and their makeup. You're a Latin fighter. Why are you up on your toes like Manny Pacquiao, bouncing in and just trying to rattle them off and then come back out? He's like, you're salsa man. He's like, put the salsa music on and dancing around the gym and stuff like that. That's where you see Linares at his best. Or certainly at lightweight, when we all kind of remember him when he boxed Kevin Mitchell and boxed Anthony Crollo and those guys, where he had that rhythm, where he'd kick into that rhythm and he'd just be able to punch off every angle. And he's the best fighter I've seen in the gym. Like up close in the gym, just a day where you go and watch a fighter in the gym. I know you love to do it as well as I do, where you just sit there and you just watch them kind of in their natural habitat. And I watched him before he boxed Luke Campbell, and he was phenomenal. The stuff he could do in the gym was just unbelievable. He was smooth, he was fun, it was all effortless. He was a magical fighter to watch.
When he puts combinations together.
Yeah, it just flows. Remember when he boxed Lomachenko? And that fight at the time was like such a mouth-watering fight because Lomachenko was Lomachenko, but he was still going up to lightweight, and Linares was kind of looking like one of the guys, wasn't he? He was sort of a top 6-7 pound for pound guy at that stage.
Gutsy move for Lomachenko at the time.
Yeah, and it was a brilliant fight as well.
Yeah.
But it is, and it has to be stressed, it's not that version of Jorge Linares anymore. He comes into this fight on the back of 3 consecutive losses, 2 by way of stoppage. He's won 2 of his last 6 fights.
Yeah.
He's 38. I think at his best, he progressed into a lightweight, but he had to build his way there with a fair few bumps in the road.
But what he'll do, though, sorry.
No. I was just rambling, talking shit.
I know.
Sorry. Just getting there.
I got nothing to say. Just wanted to stop you.
Break it up.
I'm ironically saying that. He, because of the way he fights, he'll make it, those early rounds, he'll make it. And because of the way he fights and the way Catterall fights, I think it's certainly early. Catterall will be a little bit cautious because he's a thinker. He'll make it entertaining. It'll be a little bit. I think that those first 3 or 4 rounds, first 3 rounds, there might be an air of there's a fight here. You got a fight on the hands here, Catterall. But then ultimately, I think once it gets past 5,
just slow down.
Yeah, I think Catterall will win the fight in the second half quite conclusively in the end. I feel, unless he gets hurt. Or unless he's not going to be unmotivated because he's boxing, even though he'll know Linares is 39. 38. 38, there you go, I'm fat off, was I? But
he's had a long career. He turned pro in 2002.
Yeah, remember. It's been a long. I had my last fight in 2000. You know, that's not, we're sort of the same age. But, no, but you know what I mean? It's like, you'll know that. But you also know he's Jorge Linares, and all you got to do is watch a couple of videos. You watch a video of him getting beaten, you'll go, he's still a good fighter.
He boxed Zara Abdullayev a couple of fights ago in Russia, and he looked pretty good in that until after. It was just sort of like in between rounds, somebody just like unplugged him. I was like, right, you're actually 37. But
this is a weight up again.
Yeah.
I guess a career super lightweight. who can dictate the pace.
And can punch as well with the left hand.
Who has got fast feet, who has got fast hands, who is patient, who is awkward. All those things were factored in. So being awkward and patient and all that down at super feather or lightweight might not be a problem for Linares, even Linares at this age, because he can punch in combinations, he can put it on you. You can jab and uppercut with the left hand as good as any other Mexican, almost. Not Marquez. But, he's good at doing that. He got all those sort of fluent movements, but it's hard to see how he wins. So it's good matchmaking, I think, for Catterall. It's a bit of a name, go on his record, makes him feel good about himself, and he deserves it. But he deserves a world title shot. That's just the bottom line with Catterall. He deserves it. I mean, he should be demanding it. Why haven't he got it? Where is it? Like, where's my world title shot?
Well, yeah,
and all those organisations, whether they ranked him or not, when he got the fight for that unified title, after what happened, and I'm a Taylor fan more than I am a Catterall fan, by the way, throughout their careers, but like, not personally, I mean, it's just boxing, just the stats, but like, they all should have made him number one mandatory challenger after that. They had to see the other guy. Listen, sorry mate, but after what happened there, he has to go number one. We all made a mistake there. All organisations, whoever had the judges, but we all got to take the blame for that. That wasn't right. So his next fight should be for a world title, regardless who he was against. Taylor, it don't matter who it is, someone else. So if boxing's trying to sort itself out, there's a kid there should be. And also, he might not win a world title again. He might never win a world title. That's how the fate sometimes works like that. That might have been his greatest night, his only great night. But he got it right on the night. That's the sickest part about it. He got it right. The biggest night of his life, and he got it right. Taylor got it totally wrong. And all that got factored into it. But sometimes the stars align, everything works out perfectly. And the one guy doesn't fight the way he should fight, and you fight the perfect way. And that's what happened. So why any box for the world title again? Well,
there was the delay, wasn't there, for the rematch with Josh Taylor, which kind of fell out of bed. Fell out of bed a couple of times. The last of which was an injury to Taylor, and then obviously he went off and boxed Teofimo Lopez, sort of leaving Catterall a little bit in the lurch. Really, signed with Boxer, never boxed, did he?
No,
he signed with Boxer, and then
to get that rematch.
That rematch with Josh Taylor, they couldn't do that, so he ended up going on his merry way, and obviously is now with Matchroom Boxing. And Eddie Hearn had the fight with Dara Foley and has now got this fight with all of the kind of, it's not his fault, obviously, not having the Josh Taylor rematch, and there was a big drive, and I think I spoke to Taylor on Saturday. There's still very much a plan to do that fight. They still both very much want that fight, but at the minute it's not for a world title. Taylor's going up to 147 anyway, so it's not Catterall's fault that he's not boxed for a world title. But Dara Foley and Jorge Linares, in sort of 18 months since then, doesn't scream, give me a world title shot, to me at least. And particularly when you're at 140, where that's going to become, if not, it's already becoming with Haney moving up there. I know Davis has dipped his toe in. Garcia's there now. That sounds fantastic. But as we've kind of already discussed in this pod, and we seemingly do every week, politics with making those fights with these big names. Why do they want to fight Jack Catterall? Oh, we've got this crafty southpaw for you, mate. You've got good power. No one really knows who he is. You don't have any belts, don't really sell many tickets. You interested? Not really, mate, no.
That's the problem.
Not really.
That's the problem.
Look, Matchroom have got Devin Haney and Regis Prograis on December the 9th. Fantastic fight as it is, and it's a brilliant fight. Does the winner of that fight go, yeah, Jack Catterall next? Or do they go, oh, Ryan Garcia's at 140, Teofimo Lopez is at 140. Davis, you come around at 140 and do that?
But I would say
it's tough, isn't it? It's really tough. You feel for Jack Catterall.
If Haney beats Prograis, then no, he's not going to fight him. But if Prograis beats Haney, that's more likely to happen for Catterall than the other way around. Because Prograis will come over here for the money if they're willing to pay him. But you have to pay him more than probably the fight's worth. That's the problem. And why would they? I think you got to pay. I think with someone like Catterall now, you got to pay your hand in your pocket. It's easier said than done. I don't blame if they don't. Like, you got to pay your hand in the pocket and pay someone to come over. If you believe Catterall can win. We'll pay. You got to pay for the title.
Yeah,
much. That's what I'm saying. You got to pay for it. You got to pay for someone to come over, pay more than what it's worth, and potentially lose money. That's the problem you've got.
Yeah, and it's just save for exceptional circumstances, that doesn't really happen, does it? Like, no. If you've got a young kid,
that's a big investment from a promoter,
if you've got a young kid who's 24, 25, like Gervonta Davis, when he boxed Jose Pedraza, I'm sure Pedraza got very well paid for that fight because it's okay, we've got a young kid here, okay, he's the star, he's the heir apparent, but there's not really anything else in it for you other than a boatload of money. So here's the boatload of money because we know Gervonta Davis for the next 10 years is going to be doing this, that and the other. So you overpay. So let's say, I'd imagine Regis Prograis has been well paid for the Devin Haney fight. So what? Okay, he beats Devin Haney, you're going to go again above and beyond what his market value is after beating Devin Haney.
Yeah.
His market value immediately goes up anyway, and then you have to pay a premium on the top for Jack Catterall again, who, through no fault of his own, isn't somebody who shouts and screams from the rooftops. He doesn't sell 15, 20,000 tickets. He doesn't do football stadiums and stuff like that. If you're in the promoter's shoes, do you then go, yeah, we'll invest it because it's the right thing to do because you should have beat Josh Taylor? Probably don't care about stuff like that.
But maybe fighting Linares. We'll give him Linares, and that'll help with the American and Hispanic crowd. They'll see Linares. Maybe I'm just
but people who know Linares know that he's a far cry from the best, isn't he? He's far cry from where he was, and it's difficult. 140 is going to become very tricky, very quickly. Haney and Prograis, Garcia's there now. There's talks about him potentially boxing Teofimo Lopez, which would be fantastic. We're all up for that. Rolly Romero is kind of injured, depending on who wants to fight him. You got Ahara Davis kind of knocking around the mix as well. Ahara Davis versus Jack Catterall too. Yeah, the first fight was the worst fight I've ever seen. That was a great fight. So I really don't want to see that. It's the same card as Daniel Dubois and Kevin Johnson.
Great fight. That was, it was brilliant. What a night that was.
Yeah, unbelievable. So yeah, Catterall, I think even like what result puts him at the front of the queue for a world title fight? I don't see one against Linares personally. I don't see. Okay, you knocked out Jorge Linares in a round. So did Canio. Three years ago or whatever it was. In his first fight at 140, he got flattened in a round.
Worse than that, I don't see him knocking him out early.
No, I don't either, but you know what I mean.
What if actually thinking about it on the flip side, what if it becomes a really horrible, sticky night for him?
Well, Linares kind of winds the clock back for those first 4 or 5 rounds. Is that's okay, and then Catterall gets to him late, but at the time it's who have you got ahead?
He doesn't get to him late. What if he wins but just sneaks home? I don't see that happening. What if he does and Linares does? Because it's all about energy with Linares, isn't it? That's what we're banking on, and size. And then what if that? Then he wins, Catterall, but he sneaks home a win. Then all of a sudden, then you're going, it's hard to sell again, isn't it? It's a risky one for him. But the main thing, you just got to keep him busy and active and try and work your way to a mandatory shot and then force it on somebody.
He's well placed with the governing bodies. So as the latest governing bodies rankings have him at 5 with the WBO, 7 with the IBF, 5 with the WBC, 7 with the WBA.
Not good enough though.
But you're looking at the names above him. And
you got to be 1 and 2 really.
They got Richardson Hitchens as well, Matchroom, who's just. I mean, he's on the cusp. He just beat Jose Pedraza. Someone help me. Zepeda. There we go. Jose Zepeda. So that's, for me at least anyway. Linares was a fight for not Jack Catterall, Dalton Smith or Adam Azeez or someone like that. Not a guy who's on the cusp of a world title shot. I don't really see what you gain from beating Linares that you didn't have already. I think it's one to put forward a prospect, I think, rather than to rubber stamp a world title shot, particularly when you've got Richardson Hitchens, who's just boxed on a Matchroom card, got a much better win, who's been saying, he's been quite vocal about it. Look, I was told I was going to box for a world title. I've just won this, I've just won that. Where's my world title shot? I don't know either guy at all. I can imagine how a conversation goes with either one of them going, yeah, Jack, we've got you Richardson Hitchens, mate. And Richardson Hitchens, we've got you Jack Catterall. I think both of them go, oh, it's great, mate. No. Because why would you want?
I'm there now, aren't I?
What Jack Catterall, mate? What do I get for that? Oh, well, your next one's going to be a world title. Yeah.
Who am I? David Avanesian?
Yeah, it's tough for him. So, I mean, does Catterall follow Taylor up to 147? I'm not sure what Taylor is doing at the minute with regards to when he's boxing, who he's boxing for. Is he still a top-ranked fighter?
With Taylor's, I don't know, but with Taylor's status still, I think, even though he got that shadow of the Catterall fight, but the fact that he's boxed over in the States and he's been a unified champion, at welterweight, there's always a chance, an opportunity that he could get. I don't see it, but he could get Crawford or something. He could. He would know if they were looking, if Spence's fight was not going to happen, it doesn't happen, and he stays at welterweight, then don't Taylor's coming off a loss, of course, against Lopez, but if in the interim, I'm boxing another former and a unified champion. It's a sellable fight, isn't it? Like a make-weight fight for him before another bigger fight for Crawford. So his name still carries some weight, I would feel. Both sides of the pond there, Taylor. Where Catterall there, unfortunately, it doesn't. Because ultimately, whatever happens about, he was, unjustly, he was robbed, let's be honest, by the judges, I thought. But he, nobody remembers that. That has no bearing, do it? All that happens is that Taylor moved on and you didn't. That's unfortunate. You're right, though. Where does he go? It's hard, isn't it? You should be like. What's the point in having organisation? What's the point in having ratings and rankings and all that and rules if it's all about just markability?
We're also in kind of
that's clearly what it is.
Now we're in the post Josh Taylor undisputed reign at 140 as well. You've got, like, we're going to see it 147, like we're going to see it 154. We're already seeing it 154 with Tim Tszyu. Well, you have the logjam. But I wanted to but it's undisputed champion. Oh yeah, but he just wants to do the Catterall rematch. You got Ergashev and people like that kind of waiting. I know obviously since then Matthias has won the vacant IBF and stuff, but these guys have been waiting for 2 or 3 years. They've been waiting since really before the first Taylor Catterall fight, which was a WBO mandatory. So the IBF or whoever's next in rotation going, right, brilliant, when am I next? And then beneath them, there's a guy who's waiting for a final eliminator. So it's not going to be just as easy to get those things sorted.
Unless we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Unless they've gone, listen, Jack, well, we're going to get you a fight journal. We'll get you like a name that people know here, resonates with the UK fan, and you're going to get criticism, but we'll get you this name. It's a win. It's a winnable fight. You shouldn't lose. But we pretty much, we know what's coming next. We can sneak you in here. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just trying to. Maybe there must be some sort of plan for him. They can't just be going, we'll give you Linares and then see what happens. Can they? I
wouldn't have thought so.
You get this as a name. People know him because he's been on it before, and we'll just and then we'll just show him. We'll sell the fight on what. He's come over here and battered people, and all the rest of it. And we've seen him again. One of the best fighters, and technically in the last sort of 10 years, 15 years or whatever, and then you do a job on him, and then January, February next year, you get your shot at somebody. There's a gap. We know for guarantee. You're going to move up the welterweight. You're going to move up, say for instance, and they're all fragmented. We know what's next. We can chuck you in the WBO against whoever straight away.
Box Taylor for a vacant WBO title.
Yeah,
welterweight.
We'll give you Jaron Ennis. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cheers, mate. Nice one. We probably won't be Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz now moved up as well. Was waiting for confirmation on him boxing at 154 towards the end of the year.
But at least he's fighting. That's for Catterall. At least he's fighting. That's the main thing.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be interesting to see what comes next. Yeah, for me personally, I don't see what you get from beating Linares that you didn't already have. Particularly when you're well ranked, and it's not like Linares is ranked by anybody at 40.
If someone says
it's not going to push you up in a ranking.
If it's that or nothing, are you taking that on you?
You get paid, you get active, you stay active, and what have you. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what that leads to for Jack Catterall. Okay, final one we're going to discuss on today's show. Time has flown by today. We'll let Mr. Clarke get back to his new roles and responsibilities. Good luck with that, mate. You're going to start, before you know it, mate, he's like Andy Clarke, giant pizzas and looking like this every week. So enjoy this handsome man while you can.
I had hair before I had kids. Loads of it. Loads of it. I used to do this. I used to brush like this. No, and then I went to that. And now I'm going like that.
Akim Fiaz versus Reece Bellotti. Fight that I really like. Akim Fiaz and Reece Bellotti. Two guys that we've seen an awful lot of over the years. Reece Bellotti is he's gone up and down and up and down. And he's managed to find himself into another relative big fight for the Commonwealth Boxing silver title. Is it for the real one? No, it's for the real one. So it's for the Commonwealth title. Sorry, there's the invention of the silver
Commonwealth
title.
silver is quite a recent thing.
Yeah, it really just didn't need to be dealing with that in my life anymore. But Akim Fiaz versus Reece Bellotti, Andy, is a fight that I'm really looking forward to this weekend. I think outside of Buatsi Azeez, that's my fight of the weekend. The fight I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, it's a good fight because Reece had that win against Yusuf Kamari, didn't he? Yeah. Which kind of really got him back. Just got him back on a good level because he moved up in weight, and then I think he was scheduled to box for a Southern Area title on a bill that I covered actually towards the end of last year, and it didn't happen for whatever reason. I can't remember who the opponent was supposed to be.
I don't know, he ended up boxing Dean Dodge.
Yeah, but the fight, but what I really like about Bellotti, and I covered quite a lot of his fights earlier on when people were wondering how far he might go because he's always been able to whack. He's always had his feet really on the ground, and I just like the fact that even though in some people's eyes, some people might look at him and think, well, you know, he was headlining a Next Gen on Sky and he was being pushed a little bit and maybe he wasn't as good as people said he was. He's never lost the faith. He's just kept boxing. He just wants to keep boxing. That's what a professional boxer does. You know, that's the definition of being a pro. You know, people may feel like you've been shown your level, but you just think, well, what else am I going to do? You know, this is what I want to do. And he continues to train hard, and he's good to watch. So yeah, I like that fight. I think there's plenty to like about that fight.
I would say, well, you just said, like, everyone thinks everyone's edging, like, aiming towards world level. Everyone does know that the problem is that people suppose I'm going to be a world champion.
Multi-weight world champion.
No,
worry about your debut first, mate.
No, you should say that before, but I mean, not even, it's obviously not everyone's going to get to world level or fight or even be good enough to be world level, but or even British title level. It doesn't matter. You're not getting battered and hurt. If you're enjoying it, and by the way, British Commonwealth level is fantastic, unbelievable level. Yeah. Most people would give their right hand to be that level. Southern area level is fantastic. Central area level, all those. You're boxing for titles at 10 rounds and being able to fight at 10 rounds. You are what you are. You can't go, I'm watching him. It's only Southern area. Well, I'm boxing with only Central area titles. Well, who gives a shit? If it's a good fight, it's a good fight. And he's a kid who's always in good fights. By the way, that Kamari fight, he was fantastic. What you don't want, when you box someone like Bellotti, what you don't want to be is have your left hand low.
Which Mr. Fiaz has form for.
And also, what Bellotti does, he makes you fight at a faster pace than you want to. And Fiaz likes to dictate the pace. He likes to slow it down. Technically quite good. Jordan Gill showed the blueprint to beat Bellotti in the fight camp thing. The constant change of direction, but keeping your shape and a solid, good jab.
The jab's key, isn't it?
Fiaz has a really good jab, but it comes from the hip and comes back to the hip, and that's a worry for me. I think we might see a bit of an upset. If Bellotti winning is an upset,
I'm not sure what the odds are, but I think
you're not sure what the odds are.
Not yet. No.
Hey, Bet365.
Shout out Bet365.
I'm always available.
Have a look now.
I know I'm great with odds.
Oh, look. Don't take my work, Barry.
I don't understand odds. So complicated. But I mean, he's checking.
He's a very, very small favourite. Bellotti. So Fiaz is 6-5 and Bellotti is 6-4 on. So it's 50-50.
But I imagine from Matchroom's perspective, this is the fight for Fiaz to break out a bit. They're edging him to get the win out of the field because they're pushing him forward. I would thought more than Bellotti. So it's a hard fight for Fiaz, and he's going to have to be busier than he normally is. He's going to have to be aware that this, even when he's landing with and having success and making Bellotti miss, which he will, there's still the danger of that right hand firing over the top. And Bellotti, once he hits you, he's going to carry on hitting you, and you're going to hurt him, and he's going to carry on coming forward. And he can box as well. He's not just going to rush forward like a lunatic. He's going to come behind the jab. It's a good fight. It might be the best fight of the night, I think, but it's a good fight to watch. And I sort of fancy Bellotti after being ringside against Kamari, who again, another guy likes to have his
I thought that would be a really hard fight for Bellotti.
I did as well. I thought because what he does really well is Kamari. He does. I'm not going to say the word, but he does spin around the target. He does do that quite well.
Go on, Barry, give us one.
He does pivot.
There you go.
That was good as Joe Karzagi. Yeah, someone pulled me over the other day on the train and said, pivot and Karzagi. I went, there you go. I went, what are you talking? I said, Barry McGuigan, mate.
Let's not go down that way. Shout out Dan Canobbio every time.
Who?
Is that his name? Who's that?
Dan Canobbio.
But also, it's worth
pointing out. Has he got a big nose? That's Pinocchio.
There we go. It's also worth pointing out that he was dropped very heavily in his last fight.
Yes.
Kid Fiaz, very heavily, and did very well to survive that. Reece Bellotti, if nothing else, can punch. That's one thing that's been said about him throughout his whole career.
He's always been able to do that.
He can really punch. Bellotti, I like Reece Bellotti.
Yeah, exactly. He's a good professional boxer who works hard. He's good to watch, and like I say, he never got carried away with anything. And I don't want to kind of emphasize that point. I don't think people feel like he let anybody down. But when you're on a bit of a roll and the train's on the tracks and people could get a bit carried away sometimes. He never did. I used to go and see him in the gym. I used to like going over to Jim McDonald's place and you chat to him, and he had a job as an electrician. He'd worked on some big films, with some big stars. And I think he still does that. It keeps him grounded. That kind of thing.
Second best electrician who boxed.
There he goes.
there's just
available
always
for electrical work as well, by the way, Barry.
and he just always had that attitude about him of, okay, well, we'll take these fights and we'll see what happens and we'll see how far I get, and that's what more can you ask of someone than that? He trains hard and he gives it everything when the bell goes, and that's really all I'm ever looking for from anyone, whatever level they're at. If they turn up in shape because they put the work in, and then they give it all they've got when like I say, when the bell goes, that's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's by and large, and I say by and large because there is one anomaly, has lost to good fighters and given a pretty good account of himself in that. I know he lost to Ryan Doyle, which at the time was a big upset, but Ryan Doyle's a very capable fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
very
he was in the middle of a good spell himself there, Ryan.
Yeah,
puncher himself.
Yeah. The one fight that I remember him really not doing himself justice was when he boxed out in Italy, boxed Francesco Grandelli, and was really poor. Really poor that night.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's probably one of the only. But other than that, I mean, the Gill fight, he was still competitive. He got a very undeserved split against Ryan Walsh in a fight that I thought Ryan Walsh won very clearly.
Yeah, he did win that comfortably. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he lost to Ray Ford, who I think Ray Ford is kind of like, I mean, he's probably going to box for the world title next against Kolmatov. I'd imagine that's probably what happens with Lee Wood's WBA title. And Ray Ford's kind of like, when he's on, he's supersonic. He looks fantastic when he's on. He has his off nights, and probably more off nights than you'd want to see. But I think Reece Bellotti got him when he was good and on having a good night. And that style for Reece Bellotti at that stage of his career is like fast hands, fast feet, very American style. Reece, bit heavy on the front foot and just.
Yeah, you gotta have good movement.
Yeah.
Like Gill did. You have to have that. And Fiaz, he can be slick. He got good movement himself.
Bends well at the waist,
but he leans back. He leans back too much. And I just think for someone like Bellotti, who's got long arms for his size and will punch long, you might not lean back far enough.
And also the lack of power, I think, from Fiaz as well, not being able to deter Bellotti coming in. One of the things I wanted to ask you about here, Barry, is this will be the first time that we've seen Akib Fiaz make the weight at super feather. He's not made the weight yet, and obviously now has to championship fight 12 rounds against somebody who is very, very experienced in Reece Bellotti, who's done 10 rounds, done 12 rounds. How big of a factor could that be?
Yeah, it can be a huge factor. It can help you in many ways because you have to train right, you have to live the right life. I mean, so it depends how you approach that. Because a lot of time making weight, you sometimes just can't make the weight. I understand that, but a lot of time making weight, it's not about the last week; it's about week 4. If you're lucky enough to get 4 weeks' notice. But it is though, because it starts there. Because from week 4 or week 5 even maybe for others, the fight's a long way away. So you're training hard, you're getting ready for that. But for the weight, you don't panic too much because you still got time to lose the weight. And you'll always try and nick an extra day because it's easier on you. Once you get cutting weight and eating less shit. I mean, boxers live different now, but for us it was like, we just got to lay off the fucking chocolates and all that, and that helps. But it is, isn't it? Or stop going to the pub for some of them. That was it. I'll stop smoking after with 3 weeks to go. I'll be fine. Listen, welcome to the 80s. That was the 80s fighters. I was. Yeah, I'll lay off the heroin. But it's like but that's what it is, and it's there. If you're disciplined from the offset, then making that weight. When you get to the last 2 weeks when it is hard, you've already shredded a lot, and it makes you. And also, your body's getting used to it, and you're mentally getting used to it. There's those times when those down times when you are a bit hungry, and you have it. Once you give in once, it's in temptation. It's like
believe me, I know exactly what it's like.
But that's the same with things like running. Once you miss a run in the morning once,
it's easy to do it the next time.
Yeah, just the one. I miss it again, and then on the night before the fight, that all comes back to you when you're worrying about losing fights. So making weight's important, but sometimes not always like you can't make the weight. It's how you make the weight, and that and if he has to shred it all at late, then that might be a problem. But then, unless you do the waterboarding thing and you rehydrate him with a bloody drip and all that other stuff,
that fancy stuff,
which I think is cheating myself.
It is, but by definition, cheating.
Yeah. So and fighters do it as well. A lot of them do it. So but yeah, it'll be important. But Bellotti knows how to make weight, and so that gives him an advantage. But ultimately, it's all going to be how you perform on the night. Let's presume he makes the weight and he's okay with the weight. He's still got to be busier and more defensively aware of what's going to come back twice. But he's not just going to throw one shot. If he throws a right hand and hits you, there's another one's going to come, or a left hook or a long left hand's going to come straight away. So to make him miss with one shot, or just glance the blow, and you think I'm okay because I'm slick and I'm leaning on the back foot and I'm doing this. Bellotti will keep throwing on the line. He throws long Bellotti as well. See, that's what helps him. So you have to be sharp movements on the target. Like a bit like, no, you're not going to dance like Gil, but you can do that spinning round. You've got that semicircle. You can use it on the front foot. You can use it.
Yeah, he has different type of movement to Gil, doesn't he? But it's still the same premise.
And also he can if he can spin closer to the target, pivot closer to the target, then it makes it. Bellotti, who likes to punch longer, he can work for him. The thing is that he doesn't have the power to really make you worry about the shots too much. But he can throw in combinations and blusters, and that's what he needs to do. Just constantly, just keep turning Bellotti all the time. But I fancy Bellotti. You should go for the younger, fresher guy, I feel, but I just fancy Bellotti's experience and also his mindset, the way he'll fight stylistically. I think this is a good matchup for him.
Okay, and that brings us to our prediction section of the show. Not too bad lately. So for us, it's all relative, of course.
Could we missed a few? That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Exactly
no incorrect ones around there. Yeah. Right, Andy, we're going to come to you first. We are going to start. Fucking Sky stuff. You can't make a prediction.
Why?
So this prediction will be a great fight.
Yeah,
Buatsi Azeez.
I mean, you make Buatsi the favourite. Buatsi's the favourite in most people's eyes, but I think this is I do genuinely think this is a really good fight. Because I think the way that Azeez will go about it, Buddy's been talking about it in the build-up, and not to just rehash all the things we've said, but I don't think it's any kind of double bluff where he said, listen, we need to make this really hot for him. And I think they will. And Buatsi's got the edge in skill. You know, the skill differential is in his favour, but to make that skill differential count, he's got to match Azeez for will, and Azeez will try and break his will. That's what we'll get, I think. And if Buatsi manages to take care of Dan Azeez with ease, then it'll be an outstanding performance. So I think we will get one or two things: either a really good fight or a really good performance.
There's not a rhyme in there with your words, wasn't it?
Oh, no,
skill and will, ease and breeze and seize and sneeze.
Getting used to those nursery rhymes, man.
He's still on gas in there. Yeah, if Buatsi can't establish the jab, it's a really hard night for him. To a point where I think Azeez can get the win. Azeez knows you got to start fast. You got to be relentless, and he will. And I think ultimately that will be his undoing. Sounds crazy because he has to do that to win, and that's going to keep him in the fight and keep him really uncomfortable and awkward and win rounds, and it might be tight and all the rest of it. But I think if Buatsi can keep that solid jab, and I just got a feeling where Azeez overcommits and squares up, he walks onto an uppercut or a straight right hand or a left hook or a jab. Any other punches I can think of? No, I see that as he squares up. I think he might just be a whap, and for the first time he wobbles back a bit, and Buatsi can finish quite impressively. I think that's where it happens down the stretch. So I sort of think it's a great fight. If you don't get the jab right though, he's in trouble. Buatsi, I would say that. I think so. Azeez's plan's got to be to get inside that jab, take that jab away from him, make him every time he throws the jab, you got to somehow block it and make him pay for it, and that'll take his confidence on throwing it. If you can take away the confidence on throwing the jab, then he's got nothing to stop you from walking close. Then you got to throw a big shot from too far out. Then he makes mistakes and he squares his feet up, and then you got him for Azeez. Because Azeez will get you, and he will get to the side of you when he gets close. But he just for that second though, he just squares his feet up. I think that's where he gets caught. I think he gets caught. I think he gets stopped from around 9, maybe 9, 8, 9, 10. In what will be after 3 rounds a really good fight. I think 3 rounds takes a while. I think it explodes out then.
Okay, I am also picking Joshua Buatsi. I think this is a fight where the pace is so important, because I feel like Buatsi has the gears, but we've not seen it for a while. The last time we really saw him click into gear was late on against Bolotniks.
Yeah.
And when he does that, I think the fight will be won and lost on whether Dan Azeez can go with him. Dan Azeez he's quite one-paced, he's methodical, whatever you want to call it, but we've not seen that injection of pace into his work like we've seen in the past from Buatsi. I think Buatsi clicks into gear, and I don't think Dan goes with him. And I think, similar to you, I think a stoppage in the second half of the fight. I actually quite fancy Buatsi and I really like both guys, so hopefully Dan Azeez doesn't punch me when I see him this week at the show. I think Buatsi... Cheers, mate.
It's not personal, is it?
No, it's not. No,
it's personal to him.
Yeah, of course it is. And look, Dan Azeez, I mean...
I like Dan Azeez. I've been sat with him. He's a lovely guy.
It makes noise, and he probably...
I love you everyone.
I'm quite sure he doesn't give a shit what I think either, which is the other thing to point out, always the thing to point out. I think Buatsi might win this in good fashion.
Yeah.
I think he might win this in good fashion. I think Dan Azeez has done incredibly well to get where he's got to, but I think all of those wins that he's had, I can't see Buatsi struggling with any of those names either. And I just feel like it might take somebody who Buatsi is quite familiar with in order for him to refine those gears and that pace in his work that we haven't really seen in a little while.
It is an exposure fight. Yeah, the shows that he has what we thought he had, or he hasn't.
This is very much so in a sense of we kind of know,
which is obvious really.
We know where Dan is, and like this is okay, are you here or are you here with Dan?
I'd be surprised if he sneaks through.
Are you what we've always thought you are?
Yeah.
Or not?
I'd be shocked that he sneaks through with a conservative performance. You know what I mean? If it's that, I can't see how he wins doing that.
No, I agree. And I also feel like Buatsi will be pissed off at people suggesting that this is a good fight. He is very much of that cold, ruthless.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he won't like that.
Josh,
I think there's plenty going on under the bonnet with Buatsi a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know, he's ambitious, he's driven. I think he's very clear about what it is that he wants to do. Which will mean that he's not easy to deal with necessarily. I would imagine. That's a guess because I'm not on that side of it. But for me, that's a good thing.
He's lovely guy. He's a nice guy. They're all nice guys. Dan Azeez is a lovely guy, but they're fighters.
They're nasty,
and they all haven't grown up in palaces, by the way. So you know they can be hard work. Like he had a problem with the commentary. Well, I was talking to him about it, and I was going, no, listen, you're right. And I half agreed with him a little bit, to be fair.
Trying to get work.
I said, you want to put pressure, get rid of that Macklin. I said, he's not Welsh enough. He's not even Welsh. It's ridiculous. No, I said, what I did say, I thought you would, because I said, well, they're expecting more from you from the offset. That's why. That's all it is. So, but either way, they're only saying what they're seeing. And I kept saying, he said, but they're really nice to me, and then they go in. And he said, I think we said this on the podcast. Did we? We said,
I think it was. Yeah.
He didn't say nothing no secrets, and he was just saying it was a bit he was a bit pissed off that you're all like, Dan, Josh and all that, and then you say that in commentary he's more Macklin than you, more Matt. And I go, it's not personal, Matt. He wants you to be successful. If anything, for his career, because if you're winning stuff, he's still working. So but I said, it's not personal. It's personal to you because it's about you. It's not personal to them. He's just saying what he thinks he sees. You have an issue with what he said, but don't ever think that he's two-faced. That's what he thought. They're a little bit two-faced. I said, they're not two-faced.
No,
but he didn't understand. But what I mean is, he showed a bit of fuck them.
Yeah.
And that's not bad. It's nice to see
that's
that.
good.
You know what I mean? Not for me. It's lovely for me, not for you guys. You got to see him this week.
Right. Next one. Isaac Chamberlain versus Mikhail Lawal. Andy.
I am gonna just predict.
You don't want Lawal. You don't want that smoke from Lawal this week.
I'm predicting a good fight.
There we go.
Well, absolutely.
Barry.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I really like. As you got to start everything. I really like them all. I think Chamberlain stops Lawal a bit earlier than Buatsi stops Dan Azeez. I get everyone battered, don't I? I just think Lawal will go for it, but I just think he's a little bit too slow, or slower than Chamberlain. And even if he can catch Chamberlain, I think unless he knocks him out cold, Chamberlain can ride a storm. And just the accuracy and the better technical work of Chamberlain and more energy, I think. He stops maybe on his feet, but he stops a tired Lawal around 7, 8.
Yeah, I've got Chamberlain by stoppage as well. I wonder what happens when Lawal gets in there and after the referee gives the instructions and it's just them in there. This notion that he's going to go for it is one way of looking at things. I have a feeling he's not going to, in a way. I just think the occasion...
He's got to, haven't he?
He's got to, but it doesn't necessarily mean he will. I feel like at times in the David Jameson fight, he was standing off David Jameson and he was tense. He does get very nervous. As a lot of fighters will do, obviously, before going into a fight. And I think that Chamberlain is just a much better fighter. I think he's a much better fighter and the more experienced fighter. And it wouldn't surprise me to see a corner stoppage for Lawal in a fight that's not very competitive. But I am looking forward to it, because if Lawal does come and let his hands go from round one and goes there and tries to knock Chamberlain out in 3 rounds, I think we've got a good fight. My concern is that he doesn't, and that Chamberlain can just pick him apart until he's ready to go, and then he goes.
Jab and just keep him,
just make him miss.
Yeah.
And if you're a big puncher but you can't hit anything, you get frustrated. I think he has a propensity to become quite frustrated.
He will make him, and that's what tires him out, because he make him miss and he'll be swinging the shots and he's just all tense and he's just gonna be exhausted. But he might just clip him with the right hand, maybe, and if he gets that success, that adrenaline might rush him out.
Yeah, and give him extra confidence.
But I struggle to see how he wins. Yeah, I think we are talking about a little bit of a level here, I think.
Agreed. Andy, Jack Catterall versus Jorge Linares.
Catterall. I think Catterall, and I think it will be. I think it might be one of those nights where Linares gives it a good crack for a while, and then how much does he really want it? To be honest with you, will come into play where he's not going to win the fight. And do you stick it out until the end or do you not? And I think that probably he won't.
Barry?
Yeah, similar. I think we all think the same. I think he'd be in the fight for 4 rounds, maybe 5, because he's just so good. But he's too small and he's too old. So unless Jack Catterall really doesn't turn up, and Linares really rolls back the years, I'm repeating myself. I think he stops him late in the end, because Linares is tough and he'll be able to cover and block and slip a lot of shots and ride them. But ultimately, just the size alone of Catterall, who doesn't rush his work. But after, I think that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 will be hard for Linares, and I think he stops him like 11 or 12.
Yeah, same for me. I think it goes a little bit earlier than then, maybe 8 or 9. But I will go for Jack Catterall by stoppage. And then the fight that we've just finished off with, Akib Fiaz versus Reece Bellotti.
I'm going to say Bellotti. I'll say Bellotti.
By way of?
I'll say points. He's been down the stretch a few times, Reece Bellotti. He's got that in his locker.
Barry?
I think he stops Fiaz. That means Fiaz is going to be. He must be able to
win. He's loving this.
Yes, those fucking
He
idiots.
stuck it out right to the end to get there.
Well, like this and me, like for boxing. I think. What's your balloon?
Just checking they're still
Just
there.
checking you're still the dad.
Just answer the question.
Yeah, I think you're the dad. Still the dad. Maybe the dad.
Come on.
But, I think. I think he catches him with a long right hand, and I think he hurts Fiaz, and I think he finishes him up. I don't know when. I sort of hope I'm wrong. I don't know why. I don't care who wins most fights. I just want a good fight. I don't want to get hurt, seriously hurt. But I don't know why. But I have hope Fiaz shows something different, to be honest. But I just think Bellotti is, as he showed again in the Kamari fight, still fresh, still young, and he's busy, and he can hit hard. I think all those things with the way Fiaz fights don't bode well for him. And he punches long. That's the big thing. He punches long.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bellotti will stop him. I think 12 rounds is a long time when you haven't done the rounds, and you're against somebody who has done the rounds at a good pace.
At the weight.
Yeah. So I will go for Bellotti to win somewhere around 8 or 9. Maybe a towel or a corner stoppage, with Fiaz maybe taking a few too many. Do expect, he has the style to make it a really hard night for Bellotti, but it's doing it for 12 rounds.
Yeah, as you said, that's a point that he said, stay away from the shot for a lot.
Yeah, that's a long time. When it gets to 8, 9 and you've not been there before, and you've got Bellotti who's still fresh and still punching hard, that's where the fight.
I would say one thing about, I know we want to go home. One thing about when you can't punch, and I'm an expert at that, is like as much as defensively and lateral movement is you need that is brilliant, but for 12 round fights, that is so important. The hands high. Just in case we're on an audio, podcast, is your hands high. It's very important, especially down the stretch, because you slow down, and then all of a sudden you being elusive just becomes a problem for you, because you're slow and they can time you better. So the hands high and blocking shots, you need to be able to do that, and I think Fiaz trains that way.
Yeah, it will be very interesting. Looking forward to those 4 fights this weekend. Won't say anything else about the rest of them. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up here today. Thanks very much for joining us on episode 33 of the Boxing Show. Once again, I'd like to send the biggest congratulations possible to Amarachi Clarke and the new arrival for the Clarke family.
Thanks.
Big Daddy Clarke going to get back off to the hospital now. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll catch up with you next time.